City to get us underway. No Phil Foden for them today. We understand that he's not fully fit. De Bruyne and Laporte back into their starting lineup. Ake and Alvarez dropping to the bench. Wolves make 3 changes from their last Premier League game, the win over West Ham. Full debut for Lamina, Jimenez and Traore in for Podence, Cunha and Moutinho. Pablo Sarabia, their new arrival, is amongst the substitutes. Craig Dawson, though, not involved after joining from West Ham this morning. And it's Manchester City in possession, playing from left to right in this first half in the light sky blue shirts, the white shorts and the sky blue socks, as Wolves intercept the ball on the edge of their own penalty area. Wolves in the gold shirts, the black shorts and the gold socks. City win it back out to the right-hand side, and Riyad Mahrez was looking for the run in field of Rico Lewis, but Wolves intercept, play the ball over the halfway line down the right-hand channel, looking for Jimenez, but he won't keep it in. And Manchester City with the throw midway through their own half. So City with Ederson in goal, the back four of 18-year-old Rico Lewis keeping his place ahead of Kyle Walker, who's on the bench. Stones, Akanji and Laporte complete that back line. Rodri, De Bruyne and Gundogan ahead of them, with Mahrez and Grealish supporting 28 goals for the season. Erling Haaland up front. Stones has it on the right-hand side for Manchester City. See, it's still midway through their own half. And field it goes to Rodri, and all the way back now to Ederson. As Wolves in their shape, just pressing Manchester City outside the penalty area, but City play it calmly down the right-hand side. And now back to Stones just inside his own box. So Wolves are sat in goal. The back four of Semedo, Collins, Kilman and Bueno. Ahead of them it's Mateus Nunes, Lamina and Neves, with Hwang Hee-chan, Adama Traore and Raul Jimenez up top as they spread the ball out to the right-hand side, Manchester City, and Riyad Mahrez, right-hand side of the area, crosses it in, right-footed, looking for Haaland on the corner of the 6-yard box, and it's headed away behind by Nathan Collins for an early Manchester City corner.
Does well, Nathan Collins, at the back post, because he doesn't know where Haaland is. He can't feel him. Haaland's movement's good. He pulls off half a yard, and he's just expecting a challenge. He doesn't want to nod it down into the box, so he just puts it away for a corner and hoping that his team can regroup and deal with this incoming corner.
So corner to be taken from the far side for Manchester City. 2.5 minutes played. Goalless here at the Etihad. City with the chance to go 2 points behind leaders Arsenal as John Stones tumbles in the area. The corner's not been taken yet, so our referee David Coote just ambles into the box and walks over to Nelson Semedo, who was the player closest to Stones. He's now got back up to his feet, and David Coote is just having a word with Semedo, making sure that nothing untoward will go on. Stones has retreated towards the edge of the area, and Manchester City prepare to swing this corner in from the far side again. Now again there's a lot of pushing and shoving because Stones has gone down again. The corner's still not been taken, and there's a little bit to sort out here for David Coote. Is this a tactic from Manchester City, or are Wolves living a bit dangerously here?
Well, it's one of those situations where Haaland's trying to make sure that John Stones is right next to him. He doesn't want Semedo to get close to Stones, so the closer they stay to each other and on top of each other, Semedo can't get close to John Stones. It allows him to get a free run on him, and Semedo has got his left arm across the chest and the hips of John Stones, and it is causing Wolves a problem. It's good play from Manchester City.
Well, we've been waiting about a minute to take this corner, and David Coote has called both John Stones and Nelson Semedo over to him and said unequivocally, let's get on with it. So we do. Manchester City swing the corner in high. It was towards Stones. Wolves get the first contact on it, almost the second. Falls to Laporte, though, on the right-hand side of the penalty area. Mahrez will win the header as Manchester City are forced away from the penalty area, and Gundogan gets a foot on it and sends it back to Grealish, who was on the halfway line. Here is Rico Lewis, the 18-year-old, out to the right-hand side, and Riyad Mahrez. And field now to Rodri. Come on, City, is the cry around the Etihad as Lewis picks it up. Wolves all back in formation. Every player on their side, inside their own half, as Manchester City play it in field to Rodri, and now forward to Rico Lewis once more, plays it out to the right hand side, and the yellow boosted Riyad Mahrez goes to the 1-2 to Lewis down to the right hand side of the penalty area. Now the ball goes behind. It's been given as a Wolves goal kick. Manchester City not too happy, but already you can see, I mean, he singled out 2 players for praise in that remarkable post-match press conference, Pep Guardiola, after they came back and won against Spurs here. One was Nathan Ake, who's been rotated, ironically, but the other was Rico Lewis, and he plays with such a composure and forward energy, doesn't he?
Well, he plays with a maturity way beyond his years. It's been interesting to see. They've actually just switched now, but Traore was playing across this side on him. Hwang's now come across, but what they try and do, Manchester City, is Rico Lewis goes inside, he creates that extra body in midfield, it allows Hwang or Traore to tuck in alongside him, and then it leaves a 1v1 in the wide areas for Riyad Mahrez to take people on, or it allows De Bruyne to get free, as he does right now on the ball, De Bruyne. But it's so difficult tactically, defensively, to set up against Manchester City.
Here is Lewis once more, drifting into that central position, as we've seen so many Manchester City right backs do over recent seasons under Pep Guardiola. They move the ball out to the left-hand side, and Aymeric Laporte, and Grealish will pick it up now. Plays it back into the Manchester City half with Akanji. Lovely crossfield pass out to the right-hand side, and De Bruyne, who chests it down and plays it infield to Lewis once more, taking up that central position, 25 yards out, plays it back to Akanji, and will now square it to Laporte, and out to the left is Grealish, with the socks down around his calves, tricking his way into the penalty area. Can't trick his way past Nelson Semedo though. Pulls it back to Laporte instead. 0-0 here on 5 Live, 6.5 minutes played, and Wolves yet to have a touch of the ball.
They're struggling to get hold of the ball, but they're in a really nice shape. They're organised in the way they are. The big thing when you play against Manchester City is how you defend the wide players in 1v1 situations, and your full-backs or wing-backs, whichever way you're playing, they have to be at the top of the game.
Akanji in possession for Manchester City, plays it out to the right, and De Bruyne in field to Rico Lewis. Challenged rather strongly, but David Coote plays advantage. Manchester City can't make much of the advantage. And let's see what David Coote's going to do here. He's going to have a conversation about the challenge that was made, but will he deem that there was enough of an advantage played there for Manchester City? To be honest, Stephen, I think they would have taken the free kick at the time.
Yeah, I think they would have, but it was good advantage played by David Coote. Nunes is not happy at all with the decision from the referee or the player Rico Lewis going down. He's getting close to him, but I think it was a foul, I have to say. I think it was too much contact made on him. He went down. Definitely not a yellow card or anything to that magnitude, but the big thing that irritated David Coote was he just turned round and turned his back on him and just dismissed him, as if to say, I'm not interested in what you've got to say.
So it is a talking to for Mateus Nunes. The advantage was deemed to have been played for Manchester City, so Wolves took the throw, but they've lost possession, and City have it just inside their own half, but Riyad Mahrez can't keep it in, and it will be a throw to Wolves just inside their own territory. Interesting there though, Rico Lewis going down, and you're right, Stephen, it was a foul, but that was one of the things, one of the many things that Pep Guardiola picked out against Spurs. He wasn't happy that his team on the pitch were defending Rico Lewis enough when he was getting fouled, and contrasted that with the Tottenham players surrounding the referee and complaining about all of these fouls. There are so many subplots to this match, just watching the players on the pitch, the fire, the desire, the passion. Interesting to see
if we get the answers today.
Exactly what he makes of it, standing on the corner of his technical area on that dotted line with his hands in his pockets, watching his Manchester City side build down the left-hand side. Goal is still between Leeds and Brentford. That is the Premier League's other 2 o'clock kickoff today. You can listen to commentary of that over on 5 Live Sports Extra, and stay with us on 5 Live for a huge game later on. Leaders Arsenal taking on Manchester United. John Murray and Matt Upson will be your team at the Emirates. Here is Haaland for Manchester City. Good strength on the halfway line. Squeezes the ball out to the left, and Grealish, he feeds Gundogan down the left-hand side. Good covering challenge. No, it wasn't. David Coote says that's a free kick to Manchester City. And a yellow card into the bargain for Maximilian Kilman, and Julian Lopetegui down on the touchline is absolutely furious.
Well, we haven't seen a replay on our screens. My first initial thought was that he went in strong, but he won the ball. I just wonder whether there was almost a forearm from Kilman that pushes it high into the face of Gundogan. And he gets the ball, Kilman, but then he follows through with his arm and goes through the player. It's a bit of a coming together. He's a big lad, Kilman, so if you are going to go shoulder to shoulder with him, chest to chest, I think you're always going to come off worse, unless you are Haaland and you've got that brute strength yourself up. I don't think that was too much in that.
Well, it's one of these that in the event might have come off worse for Gundogan than it possibly looked at the time, because he is still being treated down on the pitch. So free kick to Manchester City, Kilman into the book. Let's head for an update from Ellen Road. Tom Gale.
Leeds 0, Brentford 0. We are still yet to have a shot on target, Vicky, but close followers of this fixture know it's developed to be quite naughty over the past 6 or 7 years. Various red cards, and Wilfred Gnonto certainly left this mark on Brentford captain Christian Norgard. He left the Dane side on the deck for about a good 2 minutes or so. We're back underway. Leeds 0, Brentford 0.
Thanks, Tom. Commentary over on 5 Sports Extra. Full-time score from the Championship from earlier. Sunderland beating Middlesbrough by 2-0. That moves Sunderland to within a point of Middlesbrough and the playoff places. Gundogan still being treated. Talking about controversy in this fixture, I remember Nathan Collins getting sent off for a shocking challenge on Jack Grealish after just over half an hour was played when these sides met back in September. I mean, it's one of these where Kilman will say, look, my foot touches the ball, therefore that's fine. And the referee clearly has said, yes, but as you say, Stephen, he's caught Gundogan with the shoulder charge, as it were, and that's led to the yellow card. But
yeah, he actually catches him in the chin with his shoulder, and it's just because of the size difference in the players, and that is what's caused the problem. Kilman was running at full tilt as well, so it will have impacted, it will have hurt Gundogan. But I don't think there was too much in it to... listen, he's going to stay down, but I don't think there was a yellow card in it for me.
Well, that was a decision from David Coote. Gundogan is eventually up to his feet. He's still in conversation with the Manchester City medical staff, just checking that he is okay. A reminder, you can listen to all the reaction from this match and the Premier League's other action today on the Football Daily podcast. Download that from BBC Sounds. And while you're there, check out the Transfer Gossip Daily podcast as well, bringing you up to date with all the latest throughout the transfer window through January. So Gundogan up to his feet. Manchester City can finally take this free kick with De Bruyne, whips it in, headed away powerfully by Jimenez up towards halfway, where Rico Lewis will control for Manchester City. Try the back pass to Ederson. Now the free kick has gone against Hwang and for Manchester City, and a yellow card for Mario Lemina, who has clearly said something to David Coote. He was right next to him, Lemina, making his full debut for Wolves. But let's go back to that decision. It was Lewis and Hwang. If that goes the other way, it's just inside the Manchester City half, so probably a yellow, but Hwang was away there.
He was away. I think Rico Lewis has got himself in all kinds of trouble. He's got caught on the ball by Hwang. He gets his feet muddled up, then he goes to pass it back, he underhits it, Hwang goes to go round him, and Rico Lewis, as he's falling to the ground, almost puts an arm across the left leg of Hwang and drags him to the floor. David Coote gives it the other way, and now Lopetegui has just received a booking for his actions on the sideline and is disgust at the decision.
Well, Wolves racking up the yellow cards. Lemina, Kilman and Lopetegui all into the book. Let's head to the Scottish Cup. Goal at Hibs against Hearts. Gavin Wallace.
Indeed, Hibs 0, Hearts 1, 9 minutes on the clock. A goal from Josh Ginnelly. It was a great free kick into the box. Really poor defending from the home side. It fell to Ginnelly 10 yards out, and he put his laces through it. Hearts up 1-0 at Easter Road.
Thanks very much, Gavin. Let's head for an update from the Australian Open. Gigi Salmon.
Well, it's 1:15 in the morning in Melbourne, 1 hour 36 minutes on the match clock, and we're going the distance in this round of 16 meeting between two-time champion Victoria Azarenka, the 24th seed, and the 197 Zhu Lin. Lin took the first set 6-4. Azarenka asserted herself in the second set to wrap it up by 6-1, and very shortly we will have a one-set shootout to decide who goes through to the quarterfinals.
Thanks, Gigi. Manchester City in possession just inside the centre circle. Out to the right-hand side they go with Riyad Mahrez. And now John Stones picks it up for Manchester City. Gundogan plays it forward. 0-0, 15 minutes gone. It's been a relatively stop-start match so far, largely because of disciplinary actions that David Coote he's decided he has to take. Out to the left-hand side, Manchester City go with Jack Grealish, plays it to De Bruyne down to the byline, first time ball across, headed away by Bueno, just inside his own 6-yard box, but will be picked up by Riyad Mahrez. Right-hand side, swings it in left-footed, cleared away once again by Kilman and helped on by Traore and now Neves, but there just aren't enough gold shirts around the ball or towards the halfway line to retain possession and alleviate this Manchester City pressure, as Grealish has it down the left-hand side for Manchester City. Lays it off to De Bruyne, and now in field to Gundogan, who's shrugging off the attentions of Lemina. Traore is there, good interception, slides forward, wins the foul, and there we go, there's the away contingent. Wolves very sarcastically showing their appreciation and gratitude to David Coote.
Yeah, Lopetegui as well with a sarcastic thumbs up to the fourth official, but good play from Adama Traore. They haven't been able to get out Wolves because they haven't had any composure on the ball. They haven't been able to pick the heads up because of the pressure that Manchester City are putting on them. That's what it's going to take, a little bit of bravery on the ball from Wolves.
Jose Sarr under a bit of pressure inside his own penalty area, but does clear up towards halfway. Header is won by Stones though, charged down by Hwang Hee-chan, and the ball spins out of play for a Manchester City throw as Wolves get back into shape. Wolves, who have won 2 of their 4 Premier League matches under Julian Lopetegui, as many as they'd won in their previous 22 in the top flight. Still just out of the relegation zone on goal difference coming into this match. But certainly it's an appointment that has yielded fruit so far, as the ball is cleared out of play to Gundogan, who takes his throw for Manchester City. Back to Laporte on the far side. And we chatted before the match, didn't we, off air, Stephen, about the fact that Traore has started ahead of Daniel Pedence. He's in brilliant form at the moment for Wolves, but that's the question for Lopetegui, isn't it? Do you try and keep it tight for 60 or 70 minutes, you were saying, and then bring a player like Pedence off the bench? Conversely, with Traore's pace, that's always an option for Traore as well, isn't it? But Manchester City in the ascendancy at the moment, as Grealish looks to win the corner on the far side, but doesn't get any joy out of Semedo, and Wolves have the goal kick.
Yeah, good from Semedo. Said before they'd have to be good in 1v1 situations, and what they're actually doing, Wolves, is they are leaving fullbacks in 1v1 situations with the wingers and saying, deal with it. We'll look after what's coming into the box in the middle, because we know there will be runs from Haaland, from Gundogan, from Mahrez, from that right-hand side arriving into the box, and they are going to have to try and occupy those players and make sure that they take care of anything when it is delivered into the box.
Jimenez down, wins a free kick just inside the Manchester City half, and Lemina sends the ball all the way back to Nathan Collins. He's closed down by Haaland. Neves comes to help out. Lopetegui,
so strange.
Though, not happy on the touchline, is he, as they go all the way back to Jose Sarr?
Well, I don't get Lemina. Lemina's just they've won the ball back and they're inside the Manchester City half, and Lemina gets the ball and he plays it to a centre-back and goes negative straight away, and it just forced the centre-backs to go back to the goalkeeper. Poor from Wolves.
Ball intercepted by the head of Lemina, but won back by Manchester City on the left-hand side. Haaland fed inside the area, good save. Sarr comes back to Haaland, 12 yards out, can't get the shot away, feeds Mahrez instead. City still inside the penalty area, now they're forced out. Rico Lewis will try and send it back in. Grealish has to try and control with his head. It was a little too high from Lewis, but he does manage to keep it in. The Wolves fans say he didn't, but David Coote says he did, and Gundogan has it now on the edge of the area. Now Rodri, 25 yards out, as he bundled over by Jimenez. No, Jimenez with a pirouetting sort of tackle has won the ball and brings it over the halfway line. Brilliant. For Wolves. Then he goes down. Now the whistle goes. Frustration for Rodri, and Stephen Warnock. Pretty good that from Jimenez.
Outstanding from Jimenez, because he spotted the danger from Rodri. Rodri was just about to step in, perhaps take a shot himself, and Jimenez pinched the ball, but then he wasn't happy with just that. Sets off on the counter-attack, jinks inside Rico Lewis, and then invites the tackle from Rodri. Better from Wolves. Superb from Jimenez.
Here comes Bueno down the left-hand side for Wolverhampton Wanderers. 0-0, 19 minutes gone, as Lewis gets a foot in and Bueno sends it all the way back to Maximilian Kilman. First time seeing Wolves live for me with Julian Lopetegui in charge, and he's so animated, isn't he?
I think Wolves will enjoy that. The fans, they want to see that passion. You often saw Bruno Lage, who was quite stagnant, wasn't he? Stood on the sideline, sat in his chair, slouched. Lopetegui plays the game with passion himself and wants that from his players.
Poor ball forward from Mateus Nunes. Nice move before that from Wolves, just advancing their way through the Manchester City half, but it's all the way through to Edison, and Manchester City can play out from the back. Unsurprisingly, Edison saying that he absolutely will not change his style of play despite giving the ball away for Tottenham's opener here at the Etihad on Thursday, but no surprise there whatsoever. I mean, that is the way Pep Guardiola plays as much as anything else.
Yeah, it was just sloppy play, wasn't it?
Yeah, every now and then we'll make a mistake. That's his view of it. As Manchester City try to play the ball into the area from De Bruyne, it's cleared away by Wolves, but De Bruyne has picked it back up on the left-hand side, can't keep it in, and Wolves will have a throw level with the edge of their own penalty area. Goalless here on 5 Live, still 0-0 between Leeds and Brentford as well at Ellen Road. You can listen to that match on the BBC Sport website, and then at the conclusion of our coverage of the tennis from Australia today, you'll be able to listen to that on Sports Extra as the ball is picked up by Manchester City left-hand side. Lovely 1-2, but Wolves just about get the interception in, and Semedo will clear away, try a 1-2 of their own, but there's so much pressure on them inside their own half. They do work it out to the right-hand side, and now a bit of breathing space back they go towards their own penalty area, and Kilman has it for Wolves, plays it forward to Mario Lemina. Square now to Nathan Collins as Wolves just advance through their own half, keeping that shape. And we talked before this on 5 Live Sports about the difference that Lopetegui's made. Are you seeing those greater fitness levels in particular from Wolves? I mean, I know we're only 21 minutes in. It's probably the last 10 minutes we'll see that, but there's certainly a shape and an organisation to them.
I think the organisation's so much better. You can see the work rate. You can see what Lopetegui's trying to tell his players on the sideline, what he wants them to achieve. The big thing is this is the toughest place to do it, arguably, in the Premier League and in European football, with the style that Manchester City play. And I think what I'd like to see from Wolves is just being a little bit more dynamic when they win the ball back. There is a switch of play against Manchester City because of the way they close you down. Very easy for us to say sat here.
Manchester City intercepts on the halfway line, and here goes John Stones. Nice little step over. Rico Lewis has pointed to where the ball should go towards Mahrez, and Mahrez does pick it up right hand side of the penalty area. Now Lewis swings it in right footed. Sarr was scrambling, and Grealish trying to get the ball back acrobatically into the penalty area on the byline. Can't quite control that back heel, and it's behind.
Good advanced position from Rico Lewis. Mahrez getting himself in a 1v1. Wolves double up on him this time. He spots Rico Lewis behind him, sets him nicely, just over hits the cross to the back post, and Grealish can't quite just keep it in play.
Ball over the halfway line for Wolves. Jimenez can't keep hold of it, and De Bruyne picks it up and sends it to Rodri on the edge of the centre circle. Goalless here on 5 Live. Commentary of Arsenal against Manchester United coming up at 4:30. And a reminder, you can download the latest Football Daily podcast for all the reaction to today's games from BBC Sounds. And while you're there, check out the Transfer Gossip Daily as well, keeping you right up to date with all the ins and outs during January. Here are Manchester City on halfway. Kevin De Bruyne, Rico Lewis plays it back to John Stones, and again this is a pattern that we see so often, that we expect with Manchester City, but again that the shape from Wolves is notable. They're dealing well with this thread, although that's almost how well Manchester City can unlock you on the edge of the area, looking for the ball through to Haaland. Nathan Collins read it well, just about got it away. Wolves play the ball out for a Manchester City throw. Let's head for an update from Ellen Road. Tom Gale.
Leeds 0, Brentford 0. We're in the 24th minute, Vicky, and we've just had our first corner of the game taken short by Brentford. Swung in and Meslier punches clear. That's the first attempt on target of the game. Leeds 0, Brentford 0.
Thanks, Tom. Commentary over on the BBC Sport website. As Manchester City have this throw just about level with the edge of the Wolves penalty area on the right hand side. Mahrez squeezes it through to De Bruyne, who plays it off Bueno, and it will be a Manchester City corner.
I think one of the key words that Pep Guardiola must use during most team talks is patience. It has to be, because they know at some point someone will switch off, there'll be a lack of concentration, and it's just capitalising on that, because they just pull you out of position so many times. But Wolves have held theirs so far early on in this game.
24 minutes gone, goalless. Mahrez to take this corner from the right-hand side, swings it high, looking for Haaland at the far post, but even Haaland can't reach that, and it's behind for a Wolves goal kick, I should say. All right then, Stephen, 24 minutes gone. let's just go back to Pep Guardiola's comments. This is what he wanted from his team. Against Tottenham, he said there was nothing from the stomach, from the guts. He wants passion, fire, desire to want to win from the first minute. Is that what we're seeing? How do we judge that if we're saying that they're playing quite well?
Different type of game, isn't it? And the issue is that Tottenham were causing them problems at times and getting in behind. Wolves haven't done that so far. I think we'll know if Wolves start to get in behind a little bit where Manchester City lie then. But I just think it's just one of those things. It was a one-off game. I think Pep got caught after the game, a little bit hot-headed, a little bit frustrated with the performance. I just don't think you start to worry about this Manchester City team.
Wolves in possession. Roddy's gone into the book for a foul, so that's Manchester City 1 in terms of yellow cards, Wolves 3, including their manager Julian Lopetegui. But in terms of the scoreline, it's goalless on 5 Live as Wolves play it out to the right hand side, and Jimenez goes down, Traore picks it up, then slips, advantage played, Mahrez comes in, and David Cook goes back for the earlier challenge on Jimenez while he's being surrounded by Manchester City players. That's perhaps some of the desire that Pep Guardiola wants to see when decisions don't go their way, whatever we think of that.
It's a poor decision. It's a really poor decision from David Cook. Traore's the only person on the pitch who can probably win this ball back. And then he wins the ball, takes a touch, and then slips and goes right from underneath him. And the contact was made probably a second ago, but it was nowhere near. And then he gives the foul for the initial one, and I don't see it at all.
Free kick for Wolves, swung into the area, headed away by John Stones. Nathan Collins was up there. Ball goes out of play for a Wolves throw. Haaland had gone down on the edge of his own penalty area, but play continues. And Wolves jog over with Hugo Bueno to this left-hand side to take this throw. Goalless here between Manchester City and Wolves. An encounter which at Molineux, City won by 3 goals to 0. They were already 2-0 up at this point, and Wolves were about to go down to 10 men as the decision this time goes the way of Manchester City. And they have a throw with Riyad Mahrez deep inside their own territory, who will leave it for Rico Lewis, 0-0.
So Wolves are taking a throw in level with the 6-yard box down in the bottom left-hand corner. And Hugo Bueno gets the ball and he throws it back to where Pep Guardiola is on the technical area towards the halfway line. Why so negative? Why not go and win yourself a corner or get the ball in the box?
Here come Wolves, a little bit more positive for them as Neves picks it up midway through the Manchester City half. And that's always the question, isn't it? Is that something that Lopetegui's told them to do, or is that something that is seeping into their consciousness? And from the reaction so far from Lopetegui on the touchline, it's not really what he's told them to do. He's getting frustrated when they're doing that as they give the ball away on the far side. And here go Manchester City with Grealish racing over the halfway line. Haaland's in front of him. De Bruyne's making the run as well. Out to the right-hand side goes Grealish, and Mahrez lays it forward to De Bruyne. De Bruyne pulls it across, well intercepted, almost a ricochet inside the Wolves area. It's eventually cleared away up towards halfway, but that was a brilliant flowing sweeping move. City at their best. Out they pick it up once again, and Grealish drives, and Saab beats it away at his near post. 25-yard effort from Grealish, spins out for a Wolves throw, and that's probably the most fluid that Manchester City have been in this match so far. 28 minutes in, 0-0.
And it comes from the first time of Wolves really being disjointed. Lopetegui, we're going to speak so many times about him during this game. Frustrated with Semedo for not calming down, not just having the presence of mind to put his foot on the ball and play his way out from the back when they do win it back. You've got to be brave when you come to this place, and at the moment Wolves aren't doing that.
Here is John Stones in possession for Manchester City, plays it out to the right-hand side, and Riyad Mahrez. Again, Wolves well organised, well in shape. Bueno just stepping up there, putting a bit of pressure on Mahrez. He picks it up once more on this right-hand side, and now we'll go all the way back to Akanji inside the centre circle. Goalless here on 5 Live, still 0-0 between Leeds and Brentford at Ellen Road. You can listen to that match on the BBC Sport website before our coverage switches to 5 Sports Extra following the Australian Open tennis. And later Arsenal against Manchester United, 4:30 kickoff here on 5 Live. Brilliant ball to find Grealish out on the left-hand side, but couldn't quite take it in his stride. A few jeers of derision for the former Aston Villa man from the travelling Wolves fans. Lovely ball to find Mahrez out on this right-hand side now, into the penalty area, lays it off to Lewis, who swings the ball in, and the header was won by Gundogan, and it's over the bar from 10 yards.
Riyad Mahrez has got one of the best touches, if not the best touch in the Premier League, with that one that's switched out to him outside of the foot, or just steps on the ball, stops it, and he does it. He draws 2 players in again. Rico Lewis, this time with a better ball into the box. It's just probably a little bit too fast for Gundogan to readjust his body position, but nice play again from Manchester City.
Latest scores from the WSL. Everton are leading 2-0 against West Ham. It's goalless between Reading and Manchester United. Those both 2 o'clock kickoffs. The early kickoff between Chelsea and Liverpool called off after 6 minutes due to a frozen pitch. Out to the right-hand side, go Wolves now. Played in field, looking for Mateus Nunes, but very well intercepted by Gundogan and cleared away over halfway by Rico Lewis. Picked up by Bueno for Wolves. Goalless here on 5 Live. Here is Mateus Nunes under pressure from Rodri, pulls it back to Ruben Neves, who will go all the way back to Nathan Collins now as Wolves enjoy a rare spell of possession. Lemina sends it out to the right hand side, and Semedo. Now Lemina back once again. What will he bring to this Wolves side? Mario Lemina making his full Premier League debut today. Of course, all that Premier League experience with Southampton and Fulham as well.
Well, it's probably one of the most difficult places to make your Premier League debut for a team, but he brings an organisation, bite in the tackle.
Here go Manchester City. De Bruyne almost finding Haaland in the penalty area. Jose Sarr comes out as it just won't run for the Norwegian and gathers for Wolves.
It's eye of a needle stuff, isn't it? But they're so capable of it, Manchester City, and you can hear the reaction from the crowd that it was extremely close. Good toe from Collins just to put it away from the run of Haaland.
Long ball over the top for Wolves, calmly headed back by Akanji to Edison. Yes, every time we have little stickers here to help us with our commentary. Stephen's got some very nice ones to my left, which is a new thing for you, and mine are just full of facts about Haaland. There are so many that you can pick out.
You need a book.
You do, and I'll tell you my best one in a moment as Mahrez comes down the right hand side. Good interception by Bueno. 22 goals in 18 Premier League games. If he scores today, he will level the final Golden Boot tally from the last 3 Premier League seasons, 23. It's just utterly remarkable.
And he's out of form, isn't he, apparently, because he's only scored 1 in 7?
Goal drought. Definition of, surely. Wow. Manchester City take this corner short. They play it back to Riyad Mahrez, and now Grealish, 25 yards out, urged to shoot, plays it to the left-hand side instead as the ball is swung into the area, powerfully headed away by Wolverhampton Wanderers, and up to Rico Lewis. There are no gold shirts anywhere near him on the halfway line, and so Manchester City have an easy task to play it out to the left-hand side, and Grealish, who will try and build again, in field to Rodri now. Central position, 20 yards out, goes for goal, and it fizzes just over the bar. Sarr had it covered, but Manchester City, Stephen Warnock, are just starting to tick.
They are, and they're starting to pull Wolves apart in the formation. They're finding gaps, they're finding opportunities now to get shots away. I actually thought Jack Grealish, when he got the shout and the cry of shoot, I thought he should have taken the shot on himself. He's already had a sighter in the first half, stung the palms of Sarr in the Wolves goal, but I often think Manchester City always try and score the perfect goal. Why not have a few more shots from outside the box?
12 minutes to play in this first half, still goalless here at the Etihad on 5 Live as Wolves try to work something down the right hand side. Ball goes out of play. What will Lopetegui make of the performance that his side have put in so far, do you think, Stephen?
Well, apart from the last couple of minutes where Manchester City has started to get a few shots at goal, I think he would have been delighted with their organisation. However, I think he would like more at the other end of the pitch as well. A bit more pressure on the back line of Manchester City. He's going mad again. He's not happy again. He's furious with his goalkeeper.
He does these little bunny hops, kind of like sideways star jumps out of his technical area down the right hand side as Manchester City pick it up again. He's certainly not afraid of expressing himself, Julian Lopetegui, as Manchester City have it on the right. Is he one of those that if you're a player and you're playing down that left-hand side like Hwang and Bueno are, you just keep your eyes averted perhaps away from your manager who's bouncing along?
I think it's for the good of the team, isn't it? He's not one of these overpowering people like you're quite scared of and you don't want to look up. I think he's encouraging them. He's just trying to say, listen, I'm trying to help you here. I think the big thing is these days is you can come in at half time and you can show the players exactly what we're seeing here. There was a huge gap for Sarr just to play out onto the left hand side. He decides to go long and they lose possession again. It's the small details in a game that can help you so much.
John Stones dinks the ball forward towards halfway. It's won by Mateus Nunes. Stones wins the header ahead of Hwang, but Lamina gets his own head on it and sends it out to the left-hand side, and Hwang, who goes back to halfway. And again, that just affords us the opportunity, as our eyes are drawn to that right side of the pitch, just to look at Lopetegui. He's about to bounce again out of his technical area. Now he's pointing at where he wants the ball, as it's all the way back with Jose Sarr all in the lilac goalkeeping kit today. Sends it out long. Good header by Akanji to win it ahead of Jimenez. But he looks at his bench, Lopetegui. He's not impressed. He's not impressed. Out to the left-hand side, go Manchester City. And Jack Grealish plays it forward. Almost runs for Haaland in the area. Good sliding challenge from Neves, and then calmly done by Nunes on the edge of his own penalty area. Sends it back to Hugo Bueno. And he in turn will play it in field to Maximilian Kilman. Haaland is closing down Jose Sarr, who takes the touch inside his 6-yard box, and Haaland gives that one up as it goes out to Nathan Collins, and he's just jogging around the 6-yard box at the moment, Haaland. And Wolves almost lulled into a false sense of security, and now City employ the press with Lewis and Mahrez, and finally Kilman says, no, let's just clear it up towards halfway, stop trying to dink our way out of our own penalty area. And they go down the left-hand side, but Jimenez is muscled out of it by Akanji. And Manchester City will build once more with Rodri. 0-0 at the Etihad, 9 minutes to go until half-time. Still goalless at Ellen Road as well, between Leeds and Brentford, as Grealish has it. Left-hand side, plays the ball into the area, and it's straight into the arms of Jose Sarr.
Lovely ball from Jack Grealish. I just thought, this is a goal. I thought Haaland's getting his head on the end of it. Don't think he quite read the flight of the ball or anticipated it dipping over Kilman's head. Lovely play from Jack Grealish down that left-hand side.
Wolves in possession over on the far side with Semedo. Sends it back to Nathan Collins. You mentioned Lopetegui's agitation about their lack so far of goal-scoring threat. It's been the problem for Leeds, not just Leeds. It's been the problem for Wolves, not just this season, but seasons past as well. But they are the current lowest.
You should have seen Lopetegui then. There's just been a switch of play, and it was almost like, finally, at last, it's happened.
Celebration for the cross. Can they find celebration by having the chance to test Ederson? Good work by Hwang. Bueno sends it in, cleared away by Rodri just outside his own 6-yard box. Well, he liked that more, and he's saying to Jose Sarr, that's exactly what I want from my team.
Yeah, he wants Nunes just to drop in when Sarr gets the ball, and there's a huge switch on either to Semedo, because I said before, the way that Manchester City close you down, they almost want you on one side of the pitch. There's gaps on the other. It's having that bravery to switch the ball.
Here goes Hwang Hee-chan down the left-hand side for Wolves. Well marshalled by John Stones. So he plays it back to Mateus Nunes. Now Nathan Collins will pick it up on the halfway line. Is this patience from Manchester City and Wolves, or do we need a spark, a bit of fire, a bit of drive?
Yeah. You just want the forward players to create something in the final third. At the moment, Wolves are lacking that.
Ball is given away. Manchester City pick it up midway through their own half as Rico Lewis is challenged by Mateus Nunes, and now Hwang has it. Plays it in field, laid off by Lamina, looking for Hwang. Almost comes back to him from Jimenez. Good sliding challenge by Gundogan, and Manchester City's turn to be under pressure inside their own half as Grealish goes down, fouled by Jimenez, who roars in frustration to himself. And Manchester City have a free kick midway through their own half, 0-0. But that was very good from Wolves.
It was better. They tried to move the ball a little bit quicker, 1-2 touch football. Just a poor layoff from Jimenez towards the end. That the move broke down, but then they were on the front foot. They won it back extremely quickly, put Manchester City on the pressure, and just a little bit of a careless foul from Jimenez in the forward position, giving the foul away on Grealish.
So here is Akanji advancing towards halfway for Manchester City, and now finds Grealish once again, and Manchester City will go all the way back to Akanji via Laporte. Jimenez sniffing around, sensing half an opportunity.
It's slow from Manchester City, isn't it? Very slow. But I give credit to Wolves for that. I have to say, the way they've set themselves up, the way they're organised, I think it's been tough for Manchester City to break them down.
Down the left-hand side they go now with Laporte, who plays it forward, looking for Grealish, who has put in decent showing so far for Manchester City, but it just won't stick to Haaland at the moment. Cleared away by Wolves midway through their own half, but picked up once more by Rico Lewis, and the fans around the Etihad just urging Manchester City to play it forward and play it quickly. Good ball to find Mahrez, right-hand side, running into the penalty area, plays it back to De Bruyne, and Haaland there, and that is what happens with Manchester City. Brilliant header by Haaland on the edge of the 6-yard box, and just like that, they lead Wolves by a goal to nil.
There's three things certain in life: death, taxes, and a Haaland goal. It is just brilliant from Kevin De Bruyne, but the run from Haaland is outstanding, because he doesn't allow anyone to pin him. What he does is he gets a run. He knows that Collins can't see him. Lovely play from Mahrez down the right-hand side, pulls it back. Haaland gets his run. De Bruyne spots it, puts it on a plate for him, and crashes his header past the helpless Sarr. Outstanding from Manchester City. When they want to turn it on, they're devastating.
And that is when patience pays off.
It is, and it's been coming. We know it's been there. We just said the quality in the final third hasn't quite been there, but this is what Manchester City can do. They can turn it on so quickly, and they can make you look very, very silly.
29 goals for Erling Haaland for the season in 26 appearances, and he has now already, at the midway stage of the season, reached the Golden Boot total that the Golden Boot winner in the past 3 seasons in the Premier League has achieved. 23 of those goals have come in the Premier League for Haaland this season. I mean, honestly, it's absurd, the numbers that he's racking up as he's in possession, having given Manchester City the lead late in this first half on 5 Live, as they spread it once more out to the right-hand side, and Mahrez has De Bruyne in front of him. Mahrez goes back to Rico Lewis, urged to shoot. Instead, Lewis passes it straight to Neves on the edge of the D, and here goes Adama Traore, sliding challenge. David Coote lets it go.
How's he not give it? Oh, come on. Wow. This is ridiculous.
Manchester City coming forward. Kevin De Bruyne trying to take advantage. Brilliant ball out to the left to find Grealish. Grealish advancing towards the byline now. Is that a penalty? David Coote's having a long think about it. Grealish has stayed down. Nathan Collins it was who came sliding in. Both sets of players are surrounding the referee. Well, it's one of these where Wolves are still incandescent about what's happened earlier in the match. Manchester City have come over now. Wolves wanted the free kick on the edge of the area. Grealish going down. It's clumsy from Nathan Collins. Goodness me, it's clumsy.
It's a penalty, but it should never have been there. It should never have been this situation. It was a foul on Traore on the halfway line, and what you've got now is what doesn't often happen in a game, where the referee, or players often feel the referee is erring with one team. He's not. He's been poor for both teams. He's having a really tough afternoon, David Coote, and it's gone to VAR, and I think they've said it's not a penalty. He's having a tough time.
Now, I wonder whether they've gone back to the earlier incident that happened with Wolves in the build-up and said, but it's one of these where it's phases of play. So no penalty has been given. We've seen the replay. I mean, there is clear contact from Collins on Grealish, but Wolves are incandescent that they should have had a free kick on the halfway line. So whether VAR have gone far enough back and said, well, actually in the build-up, but then it was just given as a goal kick to Wolves. They haven't brought it back for the free kick. I think you're right, Stephen. He's having a challenging afternoon. As Manchester City come forward, win a corner, they lead by a goal to nil. We're approaching half-time, 90 seconds plus added time to play.
I'm trying not to put my foot in it and get in trouble. He's having a shocker. He really is. He's not refereed this game well at all so far.
Corner to Manchester City. Gundogan's there as the short option. Haaland, having given City the lead late in this first half, waits on the penalty spot. Can Kevin De Bruyne find him once again? Both arms in the air from the Belgian. Swings it up, looking for the runners, cleared away by Lamina. Rico Lewis is challenging with Traore, and Traore comes away but then runs into his own player, and Hwang Hee-chan and he get themselves into a little bit of a mix. Semedo gets his foot on it, clears it forward. Rodri plays it out to the left-hand side under pressure. Brilliant composure from Rodri, and here goes De Bruyne towards the penalty area, scoops the ball across, and it's just over the heads of Erling Haaland and behind for a Wolves goal kick. Manchester City lead by a goal to nil on 5 live.
I think Semedo will do well to make it back out for the second half. Lopetegui is furious with him. Every time he has the opportunity to put his foot on it, he's slashing things, he's swiping at things. This is a player who's been at Barcelona, and this is one of the things when you come to Manchester City, the pressure they put you under, how hard it is to play your football here. It does get to the best of players who've played at some of the hardest places to play in world football, and that's the Camp Nou.
Pressure there inside the Wolves penalty area. Neves fizzing a ball across his own 6-yard box, and Haaland not too far away from intercepting that, as Wolves do play the ball over the halfway line, looking for Jimenez. Akanji gets the better of him, and Stones calmly heads it back to Ederson. He's worked hard, Jimenez, but he's had very, very little to smile about so far.
He's had very little change out of Akanji. I like Akanji, really do. I think he's been a great acquisition for Manchester City. Strong, reads the game well, quick. He's bought into not bought into the way Pep plays, because who wouldn't, but he understands it very, very quickly. Hugely intelligent guy, and you can see it on the football pitch as well.
Ball is back with Ederson, who clears it out for Manchester City to the right hand side. Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head with Akanji there. It's how quickly he's settled into the way that Manchester City do things for Switzerland international. As Gundogan comes forward, sends it to the left hand side, and Grealish, left hand side of the box. Grealish looking for the opportunity, headed off the line. Excellent defending at the back by Nathan Collins, as Manchester City look to double their advantage. Goes out for a City throw. Oh, he's having a good game, Jack Grealish.
Yeah, but exceptional defending from Jack Collins, because he understands that he needs to help his goalkeeper out. If his goalkeeper gets beat, he needs to be on the line. He retreats, he decides to go away from Haaland because he sees the run of Grealish and then stops the shot on the line. Really good.
Manchester City pick up possession once more in the centre circle. We're into 3 minutes of added time at the end of the first half. They lead through Haaland's header. Gundogan squares it to Stones, and Gundogan will pick it up before it can reach Rodri. Now out to the right hand side, and Riyad Mahrez closed down by Hwang Hee-chan, so goes back in field to Rodri, and Manchester City very patiently just passing the ball around the Wolves half, as Rico Lewis, the 18-year-old, picks it up once more and sends it through to Gundogan, and now De Bruyne to Gundogan. This is lovely from City. Gundogan's ball across, and again Collins is there on the goal line, cleared away by Kilman, out for a City throw. He's having a storming into this half, Nathan Collins.
He is. He's done so well again. Read the danger. He's prevented 2 goals within the space of a couple of minutes, because Haaland thinks he's got another tap in. He thinks he's got a goal for himself, but it's not. Good play from Collins.
Jose Sarr collects that ball into the penalty area, and right on the edge of his box bowls it out over arm to Mario Lemina, who exchanges passes with Semedo. Semedo then goes down. David Coote says no foul, and Gundogan will bring it forwards and lay it off to Mahrez, and urged to go forward more quickly because City running out of time at the end of this first half, but they lead 1-0 here on 5 Live, as Grealish picks it up on the left hand side, back in field to Gundogan, central position, and now out to the left they go once more, and Laporte and Grealish, and it's all very tidy, all very patient from Manchester City, as Pep Guardiola, a figure of patience on the edge of his dotted technical area, stands with his hands clasped behind his back as Stones plays the ball into the area looking for Mahrez. Bueno will bring it down, nice control by the youngster, and plays it out to the left hand side, and Hwang Hee-chan, who goes back into his own penalty area. Neves picks it up on the edge of the D, and the half-time whistle goes, and that was some nice stuff from Wolves playing out at the back, but same old story. De Bruyne to Haaland, and Manchester City's patience pays off. They lead by a goal to nil.
Yeah, everyone tries to come up with the formula to stop that relationship between De Bruyne and Haaland, or just De Bruyne getting on the ball and causing problems. Wolves were organised throughout the first half. Manchester City found it difficult, but that one moment of quality that had been lacking throughout the game finally came to the feet of Kevin De Bruyne. He puts a lovely ball into the box, and Haaland does what Haaland does.
Yet he had a happier place at half-time than it was here on Thursday. Manchester City 1, Wolves 0 at the break.
Warm applause, Stephen, should we call it that, at half-time?
Yeah, there's still frustration though, Steve, and I think that's just because of the way Wolves have set themselves up. They've come here to stagnate the performance of Manchester City, and they've done it to a certain degree. But we just know that injection of quality that Manchester City have at times, and that's what they produce for the goal. But yeah, I think there's been an air of we want more from Manchester City fans.
Can you stop that Haaland and De Bruyne combo? Not in general, but in that moment, is there anything Wolves could have done differently, or sometimes you just have to go, well, that's a brilliant cross and a clinical finish?
Well, I said in commentary that at times you're going to have to leave them in 1v1 situations, the fullbacks and the wingers, and when Mahrez picks the ball up, Hugo Bueno goes towards the ball, but also Nunez goes towards the ball as well. He can just hold out and say, well, go on, you go in a 1v1, and if you get beat, you get beat. I'll be here in case it goes back to De Bruyne, and then De Bruyne doesn't have the option to pick his head up. They're all split-second decisions that you've got to make in a football game, and ultimately it can lead to a moment of brilliance from De Bruyne, or it can change and something else that can happen. But it's very, very difficult to stop him, Steve, because how many years have we been watching Kevin De Bruyne and saying, well, how do you do it? How do you stop him? You can't stop that quality, because he will ultimately find a way.
Given Julian Lopetegui's body language during the first half, I suspect he might not be saying that at half-time. I mean, if he was anything like he is at 1-0 than he was at 0-0.
Yeah, he'll be angry with certain situations, because he'll feel that they need to be better on the ball, they need to be calmer on the ball, and I think he's right. It's great. The position that we have here at the Etihad, you see it, you see the spaces, and you're able to pick out the spaces. When you've got a player running towards you in your face, seeing those spaces is a lot more difficult. And I mentioned Semedo, who's played at Barcelona, played at the Camp Nou for how many years, and he's finding it very difficult under that pressure to play out from the back. And Lopetegui's got every right to be frustrated, but it's a different matter when you're on the pitch.
Stephen, Vicky, thank you for the time being. So if City go on to win the game, they would go 2 points behind Arsenal at the top of the table, having played 2 games more. One of those games in hand is our full commentary at 4:30, Arsenal versus Manchester United. We'll be on our way to the Emirates for the first time this afternoon shortly. It's half-time in the game, which is live on 5 Sports Extra, which is Leeds against Brentford. Tom Gale.
0-0, Steve, which as it stands sees Jesse Marsh's side moving a point clear of the relegation zone. Plenty of bite, foul counters into double figures, a few square-ups, but lacking real quality in front of goal. Leeds had a free kick centre on 19 yards out. Woober got it over the wall, but couldn't get it to dip quick enough. And Bumo's cross-come shot is the closest Brentford have come at the other end. Not much to warm the cockles up here, Steve. Half-time, Leeds 0, Brentford 0.
Scottish FA Cup, the derby, Hibs versus Hearts. We've reached half-time. Gavin Wallace.
And it is Hibernian 0, Hearts 1. Josh Ginnelly's 20th goal of the season in all competitions is what separates the two teams thus far, Steve. The goal came after 10 minutes. Robert Snodgrass floated in a really dangerous free kick. It was poorly cleared by the hosts, and it fell at the feet of the former Preston forward, and he just rifled it beyond the goalkeeper David Marshall to give it 1-0. Hibs have hit the post and forced a great save from Xander Clark. Both teams really going at this hammer and tong, but at the moment, at half-time at Easter Road, Hibs 0, Hearts 1.
In the derby, in the Championship, the Weir Tees derby finished Sunderland 2, 10-man Middlesbrough 0. Women's Super League scores for you. Half-time, Everton 2, West Ham 0 and Reading 0, Manchester United 0. Spurs-Leicester was postponed and Chelsea-Liverpool was abandoned after only a couple of minutes play due to a frozen pitch. That's a much bigger story. You can get more on that right now on the BBC Sport website. The Chelsea manager, Emma Hayes, very, very unhappy indeed. Let's take you back to Melbourne. Closing in on 2 a.m. Could yet be an early night for you, Russell Fuller.
Please tell me this isn't normal, Steve. The trouble is, in tennis, this is completely normal. But it's not normal, is it, in any other walk of life to be playing in the third set of a Grand Slam match at 7 minutes to 2? And I feel really sorry for Victoria Azarenka and Zhu Lin. I mean, thank goodness, it's a really entertaining match. It's exciting, it's close, it's 1 set all, it's 2 games all. There have been 4 breaks in a row at the start of the deciding set. Azarenka's a 2-time former champion. Zhu Lin of China, 87 in the world, has never been in a Grand Slam quarter-final before. So it's a great opportunity as Azarenka breaks, and that's 5 breaks in a row, and she leads the deciding set 3-2.
What's your average finish time been so far, Russell, during the Australian Open?
So, do you know what? I might just start and work that one out. Craig Tiley, the tournament director, said Andy Murray's finish at 4:05 a.m. was out of the box, and therefore you couldn't really determine schedules because of one match. The trouble is, the standard finish time. Not 2 a.m. every night, but so frequently players are playing until this time in the morning. And I'm just hoping that actually this is the moment, this is the straw that breaks the camel's back, and people actually finally start to give it a serious look.
Russell, thank you very much indeed. Tennis correspondent Russell Fuller. Scores for you in the European Champions Cup Rugby. It's finished. Great game. Montpellier 21, London Irish 21. So that draw ends the pool phase. London Irish going out of the Champions Cup. We are going to be on our way to the Emirates very, very shortly for our first look at Arsenal Manchester United, which is coming up live and in full at 4:30. We'll be there after the news on 5 Live with Richard Foster.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
10 people have been killed and as many others injured in a shooting in the city of Monterey Park near Los Angeles. The gunman opened fire at a dance club after Chinese New Year celebrations. Most people who live in Monterey Park are of Asian descent. This local resident says he was confused when he heard the gunfire.
I did hear some sounds going off and I was like, fireworks? They never have fireworks because I live in the city. I've been here every year. And then I knew for a fact it was not fireworks when I heard the helicopter up above, because we never get helicopters around here.
Police say 2 people have died in a crash on the M40. 2 others have been taken to hospital with serious injuries. The Foreign Secretary James Cleverly insists the BBC's chairman Richard Sharp was appointed on merit. It follows reports he helped Boris Johnson arrange a loan facility in 2020 worth up to £800,000. Labour's calling for an inquiry. The former Conservative leader Ian Duncan Smith says Nadeem Zahawi should release all the information about a tax settlement he made to HMRC, reported to be worth millions of pounds. The Conservative Party chairman says he made a careless mistake. Poland's Prime Minister has criticised Germany for delaying a decision about whether its Leopard tanks can be exported to Ukraine. Warsaw needs permission to send 14 of its own German-made tanks to Kyiv. More details have been released about the King's coronation in early May. Buckingham Palace is promising a concert with global music icons and a choir including health workers, refugees and singers from the LGBT+ community. Anna Whitelock is a royal historian.
The messaging from the palace is trying to be inclusive, celebratory. It's about family, friends, communities, helping out. So they're trying to foreground all of that rather than this rather antiquated ceremony, which of course lies at the heart of the whole occasion.
And the chairman of Tesco says some food companies may be using inflation as an excuse to hike prices more than needed. John Allen says it's entirely possible that food producers are taking advantage of the poorest in society. The cost of food, including milk and cheese, is currently at its highest level since 1977.
On BBC iPlayer.
We have turned this house into a proper home.
I love you, Stacey.
I'm back with the team to sort your life out, tackling bigger challenges. This is the biggest shoe collection we have ever seen.
Well, that stuff, where was it in the flat?
Transforming families' homes.
This is looking so much better already.
It's going to be life-changing.
And restoring joy to their lives all in 7 days.
This is amazing.
More than we could ever imagine.
It's the start of my new life. Brand new Sort Your Life Out with me, Stacey Solomon. Starts Wednesday on BBC iPlayer.
5 Live's Premier League Sunday.
This is 5 Live Sport.
Half-time scores in the Premier League. Leeds 0, Brentford 0 and Manchester City 1, Wolves 0. We're on our way to the Emirates at 4:30 for full commentary of Arsenal versus Manchester United. Arsenal, of course, top of the Premier League table on 47 points. United 4th on 39 with Newcastle and City in between. Correspondent John Murray is at the Emirates. John, this has just got a bit of everything, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. We're just here inside the stadium watching the pictures that we normally see of the Arsenal players getting off the team coach and walking into the entrance and coming through, and Mikel Arteta, very serious faced. But it's a serious business now where Arsenal are, and of course where Manchester City are currently halfway through that match. If they're able to win that lead, that 5-point lead, will be down to 2 points as Arsenal prepare to take on the only team that's beaten them in the Premier League this season.
And that's why there's been so much talk of the old rivalry between these two. And, I'm just looking at one team sheet from an Arsenal-Manchester United game in the years when they were both challenging for the title. Dixon, Keown, Vieira, Ljungberg, Henry, Bergkamp, Roy Keane, Giggs,
Upson,
Beckham, Stam. And yes, John, you did my joke for me.
He was getting there.
Cheers, John. Thanks very much. Matthew Upson, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Steve. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good. What is this game like to play in?
Amazing. It really, genuinely is amazing, and I don't know whether that was because of what you mentioned there, the rivalry at that time. Obviously, two huge clubs with massive history and tradition and support, but something special was happening around that time between these two clubs at many different levels, managerially, like you just mentioned, on the pitch, fighting for trophies, and they were special matches that live long in the memory.
And I guess even that, this isn't that rivalry. It's the same clubs, but almost everything else has changed, not least the stadium that this match will be played at this afternoon. And it will be the same for fans. It just takes you down memory lane. It gives you the tingle and the memory of that derby.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And you're right, so much has changed. Football's changed a lot in that period of time, and that's clear to see. But there's a lot at stake today. And maybe that brings a little bit more, that history brings a bit more to this fixture, because the players will know that and see it and absorb it, but where both teams are in their form and the resurgence that Manchester United are on just bring a little bit extra to this match today.
It's only, John, in really the last couple of weeks that people have even mentioned Manchester United in connection with the title. They've still got quite a bit to prove on that front, don't they?
Yes, they do, I think. We were just talking about it. If you take out their first two matches of the season, that actually looks like a pretty impressive body of work from Erik ten Hag. Unfortunately for him, those two matches are on the record against Brighton and Brentford. But to get into the position where they are, and statistically now, he's made the best start of any Manchester United manager in terms of points after league games, which is remarkable, really. But I think today, without Casemiro, as has been widely discussed, I think United's team selection is going to be very interesting, whereas we pretty much, as we said this time last week, we pretty much know what Mikel Arteta is going to do when he names his team.
And we are going to extensively discuss Casemiro, Matt, after 4 o'clock, and Mark Ogden is going to join us to give us a bit more insight. But I suppose there's a reasonable chance that it's going to be Fred. And there's an interesting synergy there in that Granit Xhaka's getting a lot of praise this season, but ordinarily we're talking about two players here much more revered for their international form than their club form.
Yeah, I suppose you're right in saying that. I mean, Xhaka's just been sensational this season. He really has. I mean, talk about a player who looked like they were well on their way out of the club and it was looking very bleak, and to turn it around in the fashion that he's done is all credit to him. But it would just been so good to have seen Casemiro play today. I'm just really disappointed that he's not able to play. I think you've got a real true reflection of where both teams are, because he brings so much stability to that area of the pitch that everyone for seasons, Manchester United fans have been crying out for, really, and Arsenal fans. When you look at the form of Partey and Xhaka, both areas of the pitch there for both those teams, it just shows you how crucial that is, that middle of the park, providing that stability and having players that have leadership qualities, a great out of possession, and he ticks all those boxes. So disappointing he can't play.
Do we know if we might see Leandro Trossard today, John?
Well, he was one of those players who walked through the door, and I know that there was a question on Friday whether they'd get the paperwork done, and I think, having seen him arrive with the squad, we would assume that he'll be I'm guessing, named on the bench today, so we may potentially see him come on for his debut.
We wouldn't make a good comedy duo, would we?
No, we wouldn't, because you've got to have a straight man, haven't you?
John, Matt, thank you very much indeed. We've got full commentary on the way from the Emirates at 4:30. Arsenal versus Manchester United. We'll hear from the two managers after 4 o'clock as well. Let's take you back to the Etihad Stadium. Julen Lopetegui in the first half was bouncing up and down, furious, and it looks like there's going to be changes, Vicky Sparks.
Yes, a triple change being prepared for Wolves. So João Moutinho, Matheus Cunha, and their new signing, Pablo Sarabia, who will come on to make his debut, preparing to take the field for Wolverhampton Wanderers. And Stephen Warnock alongside me. Manchester City are unbeaten in their last 32 Premier League games in which they've gone into the second half with the lead. They're 1-0 ahead thanks to Haaland's header. What do Wolves need to do in this second half, and is this triple substitution going to be the key for them?
Well, they'll hope it will be. They need a big improvement. I was going to say, Mike's down, let's go home, Vicky, if that's the case. But I think when you look at this Wolves team, they need to inject some urgency into it when they attack. I don't think Moutinho brings that, but what he brings is an air of calm when he's on the ball. looks like Raul Jimenez has left the pitch, so it'll be Cunha who plays in that central role. He's going to have to be able to retain the ball, something that Jimenez didn't do often enough in the first half, and he's going to have to try and retain the ball and bring others into play, which is going to be a big ask for them.
Yeah, just waiting for confirmation of these Wolves changes. Manchester City have made a change as well. Nathan Ake has replaced Rico Lewis, so a little bit of a reshuffle for them at the back. Ake coming over to the left back position. John Stones has moved over to the right. So Adama Traore is the player that makes way for Pablo Sarabia, the 30-year-old, signed this week from Paris Saint-Germain, had featured regularly for PSG this season, but only 5 starts, and has worked with Lopetegui before, with Spain and Real Madrid's youth side. So he is on for his Wolves debut. And as we mentioned, Moutinho and Cunha, the other players coming on. Jimenez, Traore we mentioned, and Hwang Hee-chan are the players that have made way. So trailing 1-0 at the break, Wolves, at a ground where they've only won once in the Premier League. They make the triple substitution, and we're underway in the second half.
What does that tell you about how Wolves played in the first half up top? He's took all 3 players off, and he's changed the system ever so slightly, but it was much needed.
Lemina controlling 4 Wolves, who are playing from left to right in this second half, as Semedo plays it forward, looking for the run of Pablo Sarabia in the bright pink boots, who applauds even though the ball skids past him and goes all the way to Edison, who throws it out almost like a netball throw over over his head.
28 seconds into the second half, and that was better from Wolves than they showed all first half in 45 minutes. Incredible.
And that is why Lopetegui has made the triple change that he has. Manchester City in possession, leading by a 0-0 here on 5 Live. Clear away up towards the goal scorer Erling Haaland, just outside the centre circle. It's pulled down and wins the free kick. So Manchester City in the sky blue shirts, the white shorts and the sky blue socks. Wolves in their traditional home kit as well, the gold shirts, the black shorts and the gold socks. And it's City in possession with De Bruyne out to Mahrez on the right hand side, closed down by Hugo Bueno. Mahrez will be forced back to the halfway line, and Rodri, he lifts it forward looking for De Bruyne, but Wolves get the foot in, and it's with Mateus Nunes midway through his own half. Neves comes to pick it up once more and finds Nathan Collins, who made 2 excellent interceptions right at the end of the first half to keep it at just the 1 goal deficit against Manchester City, as Grealish goes down under a bit of pressure from Semedo. David Coote says nothing wrong with that. Manchester City in possession anyway, send it all the way back to Laporte, who goes back to Edison. And City have it now on the left-hand side with Nathan Ake infield to Gundogan. Well intercepted by Semedo, though. This is better from Wolves in the early stages of this second half. Here is Neves, 25 yards out, lays it off to the right-hand side, and Nelson Semedo up against Nathan Ake. Lemina's made the run on the overlap and is now found by Mateus Cunha. Lemina's ball into the area was a good one, and Sarabia was in there. The deflection takes it behind for a Wolves corner. But already, Stephen, you mentioned it, this is so much more dangerous for Wolverhampton Wanderers.
It is, and if you're wondering how the Wolves are setting up in the second half, they've gone with Cunha through the middle, with Sarabia just to the right side of him, and then Moutinho playing just off the forward 2 players. So the same 3 in midfield, but then just a little bit of a tweak it up top.
And they play this corner short. Moutinho swings it in, right-footed, looking for the run at the corner of the 6-yard box, cleared away by Manchester City. Bueno's ball back in is cleared away as well. Moutinho, though, stops the counter, never sends it forward, but a ricochet will call kindly for De Bruyne. And here he goes over the halfway line, and he has Haaland in front of him. It was that combination that led to the City goal in the first half. De Bruyne instead feeds Mahrez, left-hand side of the penalty area, up against Neves. Mahrez down to the byline, goes one way then the other. Falls back out of the box to Grealish now, who advances now into the penalty area, left-hand side, but again well marshalled by Wolves, and Grealish is forced back out and goes to Rodri. And now here is Ake, left-hand side, plays it forward to Riyad Mahrez. The City once more just slow the play down, back to Laporte, and now out to the left, and Ake once more. Now Gundogan, was he tripped there by Neves? Yes, he was. David Coote points to the spot immediately, and Ruben Neves looks to the heavens, hands on his hips, because 3.5 minutes into this second half, a half which Wolves had started so well. Neves has tripped Gundogan, and it's a penalty to Manchester City.
How quickly things can change. You can be dominating Manchester City in the first stages of the game, and then a brilliant ball from Nathan Ake splits the defence, and De Bruyne's run is outstanding. It's just simply brilliant from De Bruyne. He gets the wrong side of Neves. Neves tries just to adjust his feet. He can't do it. Taps the heels of De Bruyne, and it's a clear penalty.
Well, Erling Haaland has already scored once in this match. That was with his head. This he will attempt with his boots to notch up 30 goals already for this remarkable season. He has the ball in his hands. Jose Sarr is on his goal line. Jose Sarr, who has saved 2 out of 2 penalties in game this season. He's up against the man in form. It's Haaland. It's 2-0 Manchester City. Sarr goes the wrong way, and big punch with his left fist into the air from Erling Haaland. What a campaign he's having. 30 goals for the season, and Manchester City lead Wolves by 2-0.
What more can you say about this exceptional forward that Manchester City have? He's just brilliant. He's so calm. I know you had the stats there of 2 saves in 2 games. He was never saving this. There was only one person that was coming out on top in this situation, and it was Haaland. Sends the goalkeeper the wrong way. 2-0 Manchester City. And I can't see Wolves coming back into this now.
Well, he scored a brace against Lopetegui's Sevilla back in September for Manchester City. And he's done it against Lopetegui's Wolves. Erling Haaland. What an immeasurable contribution he is making to Manchester City and to the Premier League. A true great. The numbers back it up. And Jose Sarr under pressure from Haaland on a hat-trick now inside his own penalty area. Out to the right-hand side go Wolves and Semedo. But the frustration for Lopetegui as Semedo plays it off Nathan Ake, because we talked about what he could do. He makes the triple change. It clearly makes a difference up front, but down the other end, loose challenge from Neves in the penalty area, and now a 2-0 lead to try and claw back somehow at the Etihad for the Premier League's lowest scorers as Kilman clears up towards halfway. Header is won by Akanji. We'll be heading for an update from Ellen Road shortly, but Rodri in possession for Manchester City, and here is Ake, plays it out to Jack Grealish, and now back to Ake, who will go all the way back to Ederson. Closed down by Matheus Cunha. Ederson plays it out and finds Stones, and again will exchange passes with the Manchester City goalkeeper. Dinks it up towards Gundogan, goes down under the challenge of Collins, but David Coote is happy to let play continue when Manchester City retain possession. It's out on the right hand side. Grealish is screaming for it in space on the left, but City do go right to Mahrez. Akanji's continued his run. De Bruyne plays the ball into the area, headed away by Semedo, brought down by Grealish inside the box, who lifts it to the far post. Mahrez is there, and it's side netting. To Ellen Road we go. Tom Gale.
Leeds 0, Brentford 0, but much better from Jesse Marsh's side in the opening 10 minutes or so of this second half. It took them until the 39th minute to have their first shot on target of the game, Vicky. Well, they've had 2 inside this opening 9 minutes. Aronson coming the closest, edge of the box, tried to kill it top corner. Raya had it covered. Leeds 0, Brentford 0.
And to the Scottish Cup, Hibs against Hearts. Gavin Wallace.
Hibs 0, Hearts 1. That Josh Ginnelly goal after 10 minutes, the difference between the two teams. Hibs lacklustre in the first half. They've had a couple of chances thus far, but still they trail by a goal to 0 at Easter Road.
Here at the Etihad, Manchester City 2, Wolves 0, early stages of the second half. Erling Haaland at the double once again. Manchester City in possession, and we just have time to take you through the lineups. It's been a bright start to this second half, initially by Wolves, then from Manchester City, and as Grealish goes out to the right hand side and Akanji. City have Ederson in goal. The back four now of Ake, Laporte, Akanji and Stones. Rodri, De Bruyne and Gundogan in the centre, with Mahrez and Grealish supporting Haaland up front as Lamina just manages to steal that ball away on the edge of his own penalty area, and Kilman will now play it forward for Wolves, who trail by 2-0. They have Jose Sarr in goal. The back four of Semedo, Collins, Kilman and Bueno. Mateus, Lamina and Neves in the centre, with Moutinho sitting behind Sarabia, Mateus Cunha. Moutinho, Sarabia and Cunha, the 3 subs as Mahrez picks the ball up. Haaland on a hat-trick, must be! It is! Erling Haaland with the hat-trick against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Oh, you simply cannot stop this man. And when you can't stop him, you can't stop Manchester City. 31 goals for the season. It's the Erling Haaland show once again. It's City 3, Wolves 0.
Well, we saw a howler from Ederson midweek against Spurs. And there's a howler here from Jose Sarr in the Wolves goal. Tries to play out. Manchester City pinch it. And then if one person you don't want the ball to fall to is Haaland. He's clinical. He just picks his head up, one touch, finds the bottom corner. He might not score a simpler goal all season.
It's an understatement to say that Wolves are masters of their own downfall there. As you say, Stephen, it's a shocker from Jose Sarr. And Lopetegui, he's out on the edge of his technical area. His arms are folded. He is staring daggers at the pitch. Because what can he do? You cannot legislate as a manager for an error from somebody that has been as good for Wolves as he has been, from Jose Sarr. And as he touched on there, we saw Ederson do it against Tottenham. Ederson under a bit of pressure inside his own penalty area, clears over halfway. It's the life of a goalkeeper. We know you make errors, but given how well Wolves started the first few minutes of this half, those fine margins again, and the game's gone. It's got away from them.
The game's changed a lot for goalkeepers, and I look at the goalkeeping position and think there's certain goalkeepers who can play out from the back and they are very comfortable, and Ederson's made a mistake, but he's arguably the best in the world at doing it. He's brilliant with his feet. And I look at Sarr and think, you're away at the Etihad, why invite that pressure onto yourselves? However, having seen the actions of the manager throughout the first half, that's what he wants. He wants them to be able to play up from the back, but as a player you've got to sense it and know what you're feeling as well. He's had a tough afternoon, Sarr, and one of the other things that you cannot do when you come to the Etihad is have two mistakes that lead to goals, and they've had two in the second half within the space of 10 minutes, and that is game, set and match now.
Well, he's shaking his head on the touchline, Julian Lopetegui. Nice little back heel from Lamina as Wolves come forward down the right-hand side with Sarabia. Ake on the stretch, cuts it out to Haaland, who's upended by Nathan Collins, and it will be a free kick to Manchester City inside their own half. Well, we touched on Lopetegui's reaction. Pep Guardiola just pacing the edge of his own dotted line, hands in his pockets, but he wanted the response from his team. He wanted to see the passion, he wanted to see the determination, and he certainly got the response in terms of the goals. Have we seen the overall package from Manchester City this afternoon, Stephen?
To a certain degree, we've seen certain great bits from Manchester City, but have they really been tested? Have they really been put under the pressure that you'd want to put them under, or you feel that you can put them under? Not at all. So it's not been a tough afternoon for Manchester City. It's been, Wolves have been the architects of their own downfall. I think Manchester City now will look to make changes. He'll look to rest players and give them the opportunity to perhaps use the players who don't get as much game time.
Yeah, 12 minutes gone in the second half. Manchester City leading by 3 goals, and you would think surely the 3 points are coming their way once more. They will close to within 2 points of leaders Arsenal, who will then have 2 games in hand ahead of their match at the Emirates against Manchester United later this afternoon. Live coverage on 5 Live. John Murray and Matt Upson, your commentary team for that, as Wolves pick up possession on the halfway line.
I've just said he's going to give players who don't get an opportunity or perhaps as much game time, and he looks at the bench and he turns to a World Cup winner and says, right, on you come, this is your moment to shine. But I mean, you look at the bench and you just think Kyle Walker, Cancelo, Alvarez, Bernardo Silva. It's not bad, is it, to turn to that bench? I mean, if you're a Wolves player, you're thinking, oh God, what now? Who's coming on? Who's fresh?
Well, it will initially be Julian Alvarez, as Stephen alluded to there. We did just see a shot of Phil Foden in the stands here today, but we understand not fully fit, so not involved in the matchday squad, as Wolves play the ball out to the right-hand side, and Semedo, as Alvarez waits on the touchline. 9 goals already for him this season as well, but nobody can touch Erling Haaland, and the number of records he's broken already, Stephen. I mean,
have you started a new book?
I'll have to turn the page, make a new sticker. Out to the right-hand side, go Wolves. Interception by Akanji. And the throw goes the way of Wolves, and Manchester City won't be able to make the change yet because Wolves have taken it quickly, and Neves plays the ball out to the right-hand side. Ake wins the header ahead of Sarabia, forward by Cunha. Sarabia muscled out of it again on the edge of the area. Grealish then under pressure, tries to send the ball back to Ederson. It's very good goalkeeping from Ederson. Slides in, just gets there ahead of Matheus Cunha. Sends the ball out to the left-hand side, and Nathan Collins almost gives it away and does give it away. Neves can't keep hold of it. De Bruyne to Mahrez, edge of the box. Haaland's in there, but Mahrez can't bring the ball under his spell, and Wolves get away with it.
I don't know what Nathan Collins is trying to do there. Square pass, he should just either go back to his goalkeeper or look to spin it down the line. Plays a square pass to Neves, who's never set to receive the pass. And he's trying to play out again, Jose Sarr. Kicks it out this time for a throw-in. They're all over the place, Wolves, and they look rattled.
And here comes that Manchester City change, and as a man, woman and child they rise, the home support at the Etihad, to applaud their hat-trick hero, Erling Haaland. Double high five with Ilkay Gundogan. He turns in a circle, the Norwegian, and applauds as well. And we were talking at half-time, Stephen, but he's one of those players. It's the positioning that he takes. He's not a player that runs around the pitch and gets deeply involved in the play. But the positioning that he has inside the penalty area, the ruthlessness, the clinicalness, he's the difference in this match for Manchester City.
To a certain degree, yes. The first goal opens the game up, and he's the one who's in the middle of the goal and makes the great run. The ball from De Bruyne is sublime to him, but then it's two mistakes. But what he does is he punishes. He does not let anything go. If he sniffs any kind of danger, he's on you like a flash. And he's like a killer in the box. How quickly he gets the ball out of his feet and looks to finish the shot or get a shot on target is so quick. He's an outstanding player.
So Alvarez on, all hugs and smiles on the bench as Haaland takes his seat amongst the Manchester City substitutes. You can listen to all the reaction again, much more conversation about City and Haaland's brilliance this season to come on the Football Daily podcast. Download that from BBC Sounds, and while you're there, check out the Transfer Gossip Daily as well, keeping you right up to date with all the movements in January across the transfer window. It's Laporte in his own penalty area, plays it out to the right-hand side, and Akanji. Now they go now to De Bruyne, and in field to John Stones, who's taken up that central position from the right-back slot. Now De Bruyne once more. The Ramsbay moves through the centre by Alvarez. Instead, Gundogan and Mahrez work it nicely. And now Grealish left on side of the penalty area. Intelligent ball in. Lovely pass with the right boot, just the outside of it, but it's straight into the arms of Jose Sarr. And Manchester City still lead by 3 goals to 0.
Yeah, whenever there's an injection of pace from Manchester City, more often than not, it comes from Mahrez. He just glides across the grass when he goes. He little nutmeg on. I think it was Lamina in centre midfield, and then plays it across the left-hand side. I feel Jack Grealish should just get it out of his feet and fizz it with his left foot. Tries to be clever with the outside of his right boot, but there's more goals for Manchester City if they want them here.
Nicely worked by Wolves up towards the halfway line, and Moutinho, but charged down by Kevin De Bruyne. Grealish wins the header. Gundogan gets a boot in, but Cunha is there to win it back for Wolves. Slayed off by Matheus Nunes. Now to the left-hand side goes Bueno, taking on John Stones down the left-hand side. Couple of step-overs from Bueno. Ball in. Oh, good header away. But the shot on the turn is blocked from Sarabia. Now Wolves are appealing for a handball. It's spun behind for a corner. They're surrounding referee David Coote now. Of course, VAR will have a look. But that was very well defended initially by Laporte to stop Cunha latching onto it. And then Sarabia on his debut, on the follow-up with the shot. Was there a handball in there?
Yeah, it was lovely play down the left-hand side from Bueno, and he goes past his man, puts it into the box. Like you say, good header from Laporte. It falls to Sarabia at the back post. He controls it with his studs, gets his shot away, and Ake defends it. It hits his chest, I think, and then hits his arm. I don't think that's a penalty. I don't think that'll be taken up by VAR.
Yep, Sarabia has come over to take this corner, and we're underway as David Coote blows the whistle. So no penalty for Wolves, trailing by 3 goals to 0. Sarabia's delivery fitters right across the 6-yard box. Last touch came off a City head, and it will be another corner to Wolves on the left-hand side this time.
Good ball into the box by Sarabia, caused him all kinds of problems. I think the only thing from a Wolves point of view is that it goes out just past the far post, and you're thinking surely someone can get the head onto it. Credit to Manchester City, they stood strong. Goes out for a corner on the opposite side.
So Sarabia jogs all the way across the pitch. Daniel Perence, who's in brilliant form at the moment, preparing to come on for Wolves as the corner from Sarabia is poor, headed away, sent back in by Moutinho, but he slips and Gundogan will clear on the edge of the penalty area. Back in once more by Wolves. Collins is up there, wins the header and very calmly done. Headed back to Ederson by John Stones. Ederson bowls it out to Grealish. Manchester City leading by 3-0 here on BBC Radio 5 Live. Leeds still goalless against Brentford at Ellen Road. Manchester City in possession. You can listen to that commentary from Ellen Road over on 5 Live Sports Extra now. Switch over from the BBC website. Manchester City play it out to the left-hand side, and Jack Grealish taking on Semedo, plays it to Gundogan, looks for the ball through to Alvarez, but it's well marshalled by Bueno to Jose Sarr. And Sarr just jogging along the edge of his penalty area. I mean, 20 minutes gone in this second half. The game at 3-0 is gone for Wolves, but in terms of just getting on the score sheet, it's something that has improved under Julian Lopetegui as Manchester City look to get on the score sheet again. Lovely ball through from De Bruyne. Oh, what a finish from Mahrez. Oh, that's absolutely brilliant, but the flag is up on the far side. We'll have to wait for VAR. On the field it's ruled out, but the cheekiest little dink over Jose Sarr, and Mahrez has a rueful smile on his face. VAR will double check. It's ruled out for now. It stays at 3-0 to Ellen Road. Tom Gale.
Leeds 0, Brentford 0, but it's Jesse Marsh's side asking the questions, and it's that star man from the FA Cup midweek, Nonto. The crowd, those who can, are on their feet whenever he gets the ball. He's just shot low at the near post, touched behind for a corner by Raya. Leeds 0, Brentford 0.
Thanks, Tom. Commentary over on Sports Extra. Stephen Warnock, we're just watching a replay as we wait for confirmation from VAR, and it is offside. Just went a little too early, Mahrez, and he rubs both gloved hands on his face because that was the most beautiful of finishes.
Oh, it was lovely from Mahrez. They just slightly strayed offside, but as Sarr comes rushing out to him, he just gets almost like a little lob wedge out and just dinks it over the onrushing Sarr and lobs it over his foot into the bottom corner. He wagged his finger as if to say, who, me? Absolutely not. But he just strayed half a yard.
So Podence is on for Wolves. He's replaced Lamina. Jose Sarr has the ball inside his own penalty area. Manchester City have the 3-goal advantage, and Podence picks it up on the left-hand side. Rodri tries to get a foot in, but the ball goes out of play for a Wolves throw. Let's get an update from the Australian Open. Russell Fuller.
It's over, and Victoria Azarenka has beaten Zhu Lin 6-4 in a deciding set. It was an excellent match. The two-time champion here in Melbourne is through. Only trouble is, once again, it finished far too late, 2:16 a.m.
Yeesh. Thanks, Russell. Here at a very reasonable time, mid-afternoon in Manchester, it's Manchester City who lead by 3-0. Midway through this second half, Semedo in possession for Wolves.
Joe, it was interesting before. I don't know if you heard Steve Crossman talking, and he's saying about when they went to Australia, and he was talking about the weather.
Pick up on that as De Bruyne into the penalty area. Nevis intercepts. Do you tell me about the weather, Stephen
and he said, oh, okay, whatever. And you're thinking, you're sat in the studio? It's absolutely freezing here, and Steve Crossman's talking.
Here come Wolves, Podence into the area. Oh, he went for the chip as well, and Ederson claws the ball out of the sky and pats it down and gathers inside his own penalty area. Well, from one end to the other, and as gorgeous as that was from Mahrez at one end, that goal ruled out. Podence, well, that's a man in confidence, in form. 3 goals in his last 4 Premier League games, and he almost got the better of Ederson there, but well positioned from the Manchester City goalkeeper.
Yeah, that's the first time we've really seen this back three of Manchester City pulled apart because of John Stones nipping into midfield. Found a gap, Podence, and the chip was on. He was a fraction off getting it right, but credit to Ederson, full stretch on his tiptoes, and he managed to save the ball.
Wolves in possession midway through their own half. That's it, isn't it, for Lopetegui? I mean, we say, you know, the 3-0 lead, the game is up in terms of getting something out of this, you would think, unless we're to see one of the most remarkable comebacks in Premier League history. But just getting on the score sheet, their goal scoring struggles that we know have been a problem for seasons, they had just started to improve a little under Lopetegui, averaging a goal a game in the Premier League under him. That's twice as good as they were averaging in the rest of the Premier League games this season, as they play the ball into the area. Sarabia goes down, ball's over his head anyway, and the ball spins out to the right hand side, and Moutinho, who plays it in, takes a deflection. It will be a Wolves corner.
Yeah, poor play on the right hand side from Mahrez, too lazy in the way that he approached that situation. It was played up to him, he thought he was just going to nick it off the Hugo Bueno in the left back position and win his team a throw-in. Bueno advanced down that left hand side and put a lovely ball into the box, but ends up being a Wolves corner on the right hand side.
And the corner taken by Moutinho. The header at the near post by Nunez was a clever one, but it's cleared away once again by Manchester City for another Wolves corner, which Moutinho is over. Wolves, who host Liverpool next Saturday, then two huge games against Southampton and Bournemouth as they play the corner short. Pedence plays it into the area. Now it's laid off on the right hand side to Moutinho, crosses the ball in, cleared away by Laporte for Manchester City, but comes out to Pedence once more, but he's given it away, and here goes City. And Mahrez looking for the run of Alvarez, well anticipated by Neves, who intercepts on the halfway line for Wolves and sends it forward to Pedence, but he's well challenged by Rodri, who plays it in field, looking for De Bruyne, wins the header. Gundogan will chest it down, still just inside his own half. Manchester City leading by 3-0 as Gundogan goes down, and David Coote, well, he's got his back to us, but I can imagine the slightly exasperated look on his face as he says, well, that's clearly a free kick to Manchester City, and they still lead by 3-0 here on 5 Live at Ellen Road in the Premier League's other 2 o'clock kickoff. It's goalless still between Leeds and Brentford. You can listen to that over on 5 Live Sports Extra. And coming up later, 4:30 kickoff, Arsenal against Manchester United with John Murray and Matt Upson from the Emirates. Sarabia wins it back for Wolves midway inside his own half, and Nathan Collins will send it out to Maximilian Kilman, and Julian Lopetegui stands in his technical area, hands in his pockets, and thinks what might have been if Wolves hadn't made those 2 mistakes at the start of the second half that have put this game with a Haaland hat-trick surely beyond them. Semedo plays it in field to Pedence, ball into the area, cleared away by John Stones. De Bruyne will get there ahead of Neves, and Alvarez then good skill, lovely footwork, keeps hold of it, the Argentinian World Cup winner. A nice little interchange of passes under pressure by Manchester City, and they work it up to the halfway line, and now Gundogan will send it out to the left hand side, and Grealish, Alvarez is through the centre, Grealish towards the penalty area, lays it off to De Bruyne, who just chips the ball across, and there were 4 or 5 sky blue shirts to aim for, and unusually for Kevin De Bruyne, can't find any of them as Wolves bring it over the halfway line, down the left-hand side. Akanji's back there defending, little tug on the shirt, but advantage played, so Pedence picks it up, central position, sends it out to the right-hand side, and Sarabia with the pink boots up against Nathan Ake. Grealish is there as well, so Sarabia goes in field to Neves. Manchester City leading by 3-0, 17 minutes plus added time to play here on 5 Live as Wolves work it out to the left-hand side, played forward to the edge of the box, but intercepted by Gundogan, well challenged and won back by Moutinho. And Wolves will slow the play down on the left-hand side with Mateus Nunes, who now sends it all the way back to halfway, and Nathan Collins. Out to the right they go now, and Nelson Semedo. It's patient, it's well worked by Wolves. Can they find the ball into the area? Sarabia stops on the edge of the box. It's a poor ball, looking for Pedence, and now Manchester City will counter, and De Bruyne was pulled back there, but he's still going. Good advantage play by David Coote. Julian Alvarez could be an on goal here. Flag stays down for now. Alvarez trying to go round Sarr. Sarr makes the save, and the flag still stays down, but it looked offside. Stephen Warnock. It's a corner to Manchester City. Quickly to the Emirates. Team news: Arsenal, Manchester United. John Murray.
Arsenal, as expected, the usual, same team as last week. New arrival Trossard is a substitute, and Manchester United make just the one change, and that is McTominay in for the suspended Casemiro. So Fred's on the bench again. Martinez plays alongside Varane, Shaw's at left back, and Weghorst continues up front.
Thanks, John. Full commentary coming up with Matt Upson and John from 4:30 here on 5 Live. Corner to Manchester City. Stephen Warnock's thoughts in a moment as to whether that flag should have gone up, but it didn't, and City have this corner, leading by 3-0, looking to make it 4, and Nathan Collins heads away on the edge of the 6-yard box. Grealish stops the counter though, and Nathan Ake will send it out to the left-hand side, and here is Aymeric Laporte up against Semedo. Has Grealish there as an option and uses him, and Grealish will stop and put his foot on the ball and send it back to Rodri. So at the risk of Manchester City suddenly going from 1 gear to 5th gear, looked offside, didn't he?
He was miles offside, and it's so obvious, but this is the frustrating thing. If he scores, then we can go to VAR and you can see that it's offside. If it goes out for a corner and Manchester City score from that corner, it doesn't go back. And it's just such a grey area that needs addressing, because it was clearly offside, and then it puts Manchester City, or keeps them on the front foot still.
Yeah, it's one of those where we both thought, well, the official will now put the flag up now that Sarr's made the save, but fortunately for Wolves, the corner eventually came to nothing. Unfortunately for Wolves, they still trail by 3-0 as Manchester City in possession just inside their own half. A goal in the Scottish Cup, Gavin Wallace.
Indeed, Hearts are firmly in the driving seat now. Hibernian 0, Heart of Midlothian 2. Lawrence Shanklin with his 27th of the season. There was a sumptuous 1-2 in the edge of the box between him and Humphreys, and Shanklin was not missing from 18 yards. 2-0 to the Gorgie side.
3-0 Manchester City lead against Wolves with 15 minutes to play, and they have the ball midway through the Wolves half. Out to the right hand side they go now with Kevin De Bruyne, and now Mahrez, who's had that beautiful chip ruled out for offside as well. But Haaland taking the headlines once again, a hat-trick for the Norwegian, onto 31 goals for the season in all competitions. Quite simply remarkable. Manchester City in possession just inside their own half. They're about to make a double change. Calvin Phillips and Bernardo Silva preparing to come on, but Mahrez is off and away, racing down the right hand side. Well defended though by Wolves, cleared away by Kilman, and they go out to their left hand side with Bueno. Just got a little push in the back there from De Bruyne. Might have gone down there, Bueno. Well, he's appealing there. He's saying to the official, look, I was clearly pushed there. And it's one of those where players will say, well, if you don't want me to go down, then make the decision.
Yeah, such a frustrating one. I was just going to say, before you were talking about Núñez being the player everyone's interested in. He's been anonymous in this game, and that's where you need players of that magnitude who are sought after, highly praised. You've got to stand up here and want the ball and take the ball and be brave on it. I'm not seeing anything from him yet.
So the double change being made for Manchester City. Kevin De Bruyne, the first player to make way, replaced by Bernardo Silva, and Calvin Phillips will enter the field in place of Rodri. Just his 3rd Premier League appearance of the season, Calvin Phillips. They've all come from the bench. Of course, he's struggled with injury, had that shoulder problem, but that criticism from Pep Guardiola as well, saying that he came back overweight from the World Cup. He gets a big pat on the back there as he comes on, Calvin Phillips, from Pep Guardiola. But it's been a real season of frustration for the former Leeds man after that £45 million move. And when you consider this is a player, Stephen, that was voted England's Player of the Year in 21-22, I mean, it's been a challenge.
It has been a challenge, but that's the challenge that when you come to Manchester City, that is the one that's really difficult to break into the team. Injury-wise, it's not gone great for him, but there's a lot of games to play. There's important games to play in the second half of the season. Champions League football coming up. Rodri might have a dip in form, so he's got to be ready when that does happen, but there's no doubting there's a real quality player there.
13 minutes plus added time to play at the Etihad. Manchester City with the Haaland hat-trick leading by 3-0. Incidentally, same score in the WSL between Everton and West Ham. Everton 3-0 up, and it's still goalless between Reading and Manchester United. Chelsea against Liverpool, the lunchtime kick-off in the Women's Super League, called off after just 6 minutes due to a frozen pitch. Manchester City in possession, play the ball all the way back to Edison. A reminder, you can listen to all the reaction from the day's football on the Football Daily podcast, which you can download from BBC Sounds, and you can also download the Transfer Gossip Daily, which keeps you right up to date with all the ins and outs of the transfer window throughout January. Of course, one of the latest for Wolves, Craig Dawson, arriving from West Ham today, not registered in time for this game, but a player that will certainly add to their defensive stability at the back this season as Nathan Collins picks it up. We've seen a couple of defensive errors from Wolves today And that is partly why, along with the clinicalness and the predatory nature of Erling Haaland, that Manchester City lead by 3 goals to 0 as Calvin Phillips commits a foul just outside the Wolves penalty area, and Wolves will have a free kick deep in their own territory.
Made a few mistakes today myself, Vicky, with my printer. Had a bit of a shocker today. Tried to up my game in the
sticker department.
Changed my approach from writing it all down, pen and paper the old-fashioned way. Put the paper in the wrong way, and my Wolves notes didn't come out.
and why didn't they? Because you printed them on the wrong side.
The wrong side, yeah.
Sadly.
So when the City subs came on, then that was just lovely because I had all the City players ready to put on, not a problem. And then when the Wolves subs come on, I'm scribbling away like mad.
Yeah.
I'll learn.
Manchester City in possession in the centre circle. What are you going to do now, though? Because Ait Nouri's coming on for Wolves.
I'm going to get my pen out.
Here come Manchester City. Grealish inside the penalty area, looking to add to their 3-goal advantage. Plays it in, looking for Neves, who goes down. Neves made the block for Wolves. Grealish trying to squeeze it in. Comes back out to Bernardo Silva, still just inside the penalty area. Now out to the right-hand side, and Mahrez plays it back to Calvin Phillips. He drives the shot in, blocked away by Semedo. Will spin out to the right-hand side once more. Gundogan's in there and misses the header from 2 yards. Well, he was on the stretch, Gundogan, and the ball was perhaps just a little too high from him, but still, all he needs to do is get over that, and that's 4-0 City, and it should be.
What a ball from Bernardo Silva. It's one of those balls that you know you can't fire hard and low because you've got a man in front of you, but to dink it over the head of Jose Sarr to the back post, and it's almost like Gundogan has too much time to see the ball coming, and he just gets underneath it too much, heads it over the bar. It should be 4-0.
So a change of piece being made. Cole Palmer is on for Manchester City. He's replacing Riyad Mahrez. And Hugo Bueno is being replaced by Ryan Ait Nouri. I mean, I would say I'd give you my sticker, Stephen, but I'm not that much of a team player.
No, don't. I wouldn't give you mine.
Technology's not for everyone.
I did give you some
worry.
sweets in the first half, which I thought might have earned me a couple of stickers.
Wolves play out the goal kick, trailing by 3 goals to 0 as we enter the final 9 minutes here at the Etihad. So, pressure potentially on Arsenal ahead of their 4:30 kick-off against Manchester United, which you can listen to with us here live on 5 Live. Manchester City are moving to within 2 points of the Gunners at the top of the table. I mean, that's a fascinating encounter coming up, isn't it, Stephen?
It is. It's a good game. It's an interesting game. Mistakes were made in the first game between the two at Old Trafford. Mikel Arteta tried to go for the game. He said after the game it's something that he wanted to do. He wanted to go after it. He learned a lot of lessons from that. And you have to say the reaction from them since that game has just been incredible. But this is a big challenge for both teams. How far have Manchester United come, and how far can Arsenal go?
Don't miss it. Commentary with John Murray and Matt Upson from 4:30 on 5 Live. Still goalless in the other kick-off as Wolves look to get a goal back here with Podence inside the penalty area. Shot deflected, comes back to Podence, still inside the box. Tried to drive it in low, and it's just past the post with Edison rooted to the spot.
Well, he wasn't passing to anyone else. He's in a rich vein of form, and he gets it one-on-one in the box against Akanji, faces him up, drops his shoulder inside, gets his shot. It hits John Stones, who's behind, and then he tries again just to get the shot away, drags his shot. It beats Edison. Edison's pinned to his line, and it just hits the side netting. From where we were, it looked like it had gone in, but it was the side netting.
So Manchester City goal kick, still leading by 3 goals to 0. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. However, I will flag...
If I'd have turned the paper around the right way.
If you turn the paper around the right way, for a start. But also, we did talk off air before the match, didn't we? The change that stood out to me with this Wolves lineup was Traoré in for Podence, who's in such a good vein of form this season. He's looked dangerous since coming on. Yes, we know that Traoré's got pedigree against City. It's not about that, really, why Lopetegui put him in. He has the pace, he's dangerous on the counter. The game plan will have been thought through. But if you're a Wolves fan, are you questioning perhaps why Podence maybe didn't start?
Yeah, I think you are. I think also as well what you're looking at is ball retention. Who's the more intelligent player? And I think it is Podence. It's not a slight on Traoré, it's just the capabilities of both players. Who would I not fancy playing against for the last 20 minutes? Traoré, because I'd be tired, I'd be thinking the pace in behind could be dangerous. And that is the risk that Lopetegui took, and it's not turned out for him. However, 2 mistakes have cost the team, and they were in the game at 1-0, and 2 silly mistakes have cost them.
Gundogan in possession on the halfway line for Manchester City. Good ball from Ake, will be chased by Alvarez. He's got the better of Semedo. Semedo did well, almost won it back. Alvarez has done better. Squares it to the right-hand side. It's cut out by Ait Nouri and played forward to Neves. Semedo stayed down, so Wolves temporarily 1 man short as Semedo eventually gets back up to his feet as they look to counter. Oh, beautiful touch by Podence down the left-hand side into the area, just plays it ahead of Ait Nouri, and then it's hoofed into the stands, and that really is the word for it, by Sarabia, just outside the penalty area. But Podence, I mean, case made, surely.
Well, that was the old Riyad Mahrez outside of the foot, touch on the run. Sarabia does what all players do when they sky one, turns round, the old fail-safe, look at the pitch. It took a bobble, it absolutely didn't. He just got underneath it, skies it over the bar, but that was lovely play from Podence down the left-hand side.
So Manchester City with this goal kick, and as we approach the final 5 minutes, it is creeping into that Ederson taking his time territory, and that's what he does as Neves wins the ball just outside the centre circle for Wolves, who trail by 3-0. Haaland's hat-trick, once again the man in the headlines for Manchester City as Moutinho plays it out to the right-hand side, and Sarabia all the way back to Jose Sarr. And Haaland is the story of the game, but as Stephen has mentioned, those 2 mistakes at the start of the second half by the Wolves defence have really cost their side any chance of taking something from the Etihad for only the 3rd time, just 4 points in their previous 8 Premier League visits here, and they're looking to at least get a goal back. Ball into the area from Sarabia, cleared away by Manchester City and out for a corner by Jack Grealish. Can Wolves at least find a way to get on the score sheet?
Well, it's what they're desperate to do. They've had a good go in the second half towards the latter stages since the substitutions have been made. Manchester City do look a little bit more stretched, but there's just a little bit of a lack of concentration from Manchester City, which has allowed Wolves in.
So corner from the right-hand side, fizzes all the way across the 6-yard box, ricochets away off Ake, will be picked up by Nunez, plays it back out to Sarabia, and now Moutinho, who sends the ball in right-footed, and the header loops over the bar on the corner of the 6-yard box. It is just not happening for Maximilian Kilman and Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Difficult header for him. Nice ball from Moutinho, but he's under pressure. He's trying to climb above John Stones, I think it is, at the back post, and Stones does extremely well because he gets his arm across him, makes sure he gets contact. It's actually Jack Grealish. Credit to Grealish, he's the one who gets his arm across him. There's a big hug from John Stones because he appreciated how well he defended that situation, because it was a complete mismatch.
Here come Manchester City down the right-hand side, looking to add to this 3-goal advantage as we enter the final 3 minutes plus added time as Wolves play the ball forward. Podence went down there, referee David Coope played a good advantage, and Podence just had to jump up very quickly as the ball was passed back right towards where he lay on the turf, as Wolves now send it out to the right-hand side, and Nelson Semedo up against Ake, plays it forwards, looking for Mateus Nunes, blocked away at the back by Calvin Phillips, and Jack Grealish will bring it away for Manchester City. And here goes Ilkay Gundogan over the halfway line, and now Alvarez, left-hand side, just slows the pace of the Manchester City breakdown, because Manchester City don't need to force it as Gundogan can't keep control, hurdles the challenge but lifts the ball up and out of play. Pep Guardiola watches on the corner of his technical area, now claps his hands together. Blue moon rings around the Etihad. I think we'll see a slightly calmer manager in the post-match press conference.
I would have thought so. He had a huge glare at David Coote then, because there was a challenge coming in. I'm not sure who it was from, but the studs were up against Gundogan. He anticipated the foul coming in, so just tried to dink it over the foot. If he keeps the ball, he gets fouled in. He's probably picking up a bad injury.
Wolves have given the ball away outside their own penalty area. Here come Manchester City with Cole Palmer, right-hand side of the box, pulls it back to Calvin Phillips, and now Stones, and they'll work it back to Akanji and Laporte, and it's very much getting into job done feel for Manchester City. And certainly Erling Haaland has got the job done once again. Another hat-trick for the Norwegian, 31 goals for the season. The numbers, quite simply, are remarkable. And here come Manchester City down the right-hand side with Bernardo Silva into the penalty area. Has Gundogan waiting, lays it off to Palmer instead. Now just outside the box, now just inside the box. Lovely feet by Palmer, looking to get past Aït-Nouri, but Aït-Nouri gets a foot in and sends the ball up to halfway, where Laporte waits, and we're into the final 90 seconds plus added time. Manchester City 3, Wolves 0 here on 5 Live.
Are you a fantasy football player?
Please don't ask me that, because the person I'm playing in the head-to-head is Captain Haaland, and I have not.
Oh, well, that was going to be my thing. Do you think he should be allowed in fantasy football teams? Because everyone else...
Too much of an advantage.
Well, everyone has him.
Yeah.
So you may as well just play with 10 men.
It's a good question.
I mean, I don't even play it, but I have a team, and he's in it. Why wouldn't you? I don't know anything about fantasy football, but one thing I do know is that you get points for goals. So who's going to score you all the goals?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the basics you've got mastered there.
Do you think anyone doesn't have him in the team?
Do you know what? I've gone a different route. I like to be a little bit controversial and try and do it the hard way.
Is it working?
No. Wolves coming down the left-hand side. Manchester City intercept outside their own penalty area. And we'll play it down the right with Palmer, who's under pressure from Podence, so he sends it back to Akanji, down by the byline, clears it up towards halfway, and the header is on by Aït-Nouri. The Wolves have the ball with Nathan Collins inside their own half. It's all the way back to Jose Sarr as 3 minutes of added time are added on. 3 goals for Manchester City. It will be 3 points for Manchester City, and once again 3 goals for Erling Haaland as Akanji steps up. Good challenge on the halfway line as Wolves now stretched at the back with Kilman out of position, and Bernardo Silva plays the ball across the area. Nathan Collins was there. Good positioning from the Wolves centre half and clears it up. It's just getting a little bit stretched now for City as Sarabia comes forward. Here is Matheus Nunes as Cunha ahead of him. Sarabia's continued his run, looks for Podence instead out to the left hand side. Podence, lovely control again, will bring it down and play it to Neves. And now Moutinho. Manchester City leading by 3-0. Can Wolves find a way to get on the score sheet late on and at least take a goal away from the Etihad? They've got a corner. Nunes playing it off Ake.
You just sense now that the game is won for Manchester City. They're switching off, they're trying things that they wouldn't usually try. Wolves now have another opportunity to put quality into the box. Kilman and Collins head up. Can they get the head on the end of this corner?
Corner's to be taken from the right hand side. Ake heads it away on the edge of the 6-yard box for Manchester City. Moutinho sends it out to the right, and Matheus Nunes back to Moutinho, and now Sarabia swings the ball in with a pink boot, and it's claimed well by Ederson, who goes down. 90 seconds to play. Manchester City 3, Wolves 0. Mitrovic, Kane and Tony, incidentally, my front 3.
Yeah.
Not quite as good as Haaland, who incidentally now, with Wolves having scored 12 goals in the Premier League this season, that's now 13 fewer than Haaland has scored independently. I mean, take your pick of the stats. It is quite ridiculous, remarkable, whatever word you want to say. I mean, I think generally it was appreciated that he would be a very good signing for Manchester City. I'm not sure we knew how astronomically good this signing would be as Wolves have it on the
How
halfway
incredible
line.
Were the arguments maybe a week or 2 weeks ago? Are Manchester City better or worse off with Haaland in the team?
31 goals better off is the answer.
The comments.
Here come Wolves, nice little interchange looking for Aït-Nouri, who goes down inside the penalty area, cleared away by Laporte, and Bernardo Silva will counter now over the halfway line for Manchester City. We're into the final 30 seconds. Is there to be a final flourish to the 3 goals that they've already scored as they pick it up on the right hand side? Back to Calvin Phillips, miscontrol, and might let Matheus Cunha in for Wolves. He's shoulder barged by Akanji. Goes down, Wolves free kick. Let's head to Ellen Road. Tom Gale.
Full time, Vicky. Leeds 0, Brentford 0. Jesse Marsh's side move a point clear of the relegation zone. They were the better team in the second half. Rayo has saves from Aronson and Nonto, but I'll be honest with you, it's saves he should expect to make. Brentford now 8 unbeaten, back-to-back clean sheets. They leapfrog Liverpool back into 8th. Full time, Leeds 0, Brentford 0.
And full time at the Etihad here, and it's all smiles for Erling Haaland on the bench. His hat-trick sends Manchester City to a 3-0 win over Wolverhampton Wanderers and takes them just 2 points behind leaders Arsenal, ahead of Arsenal's game against Manchester United at 4:30. That is coming up on 5 Live. But Stephen Warnock, 2 main stories to this game. Erling Haaland's brilliance, clinicalness, ruthlessness, and Wolves' mistakes at the back at a key time at the start of the second half, which they had started so well.
Yeah, lovely goal from Haaland in the first half. Lovely ball in from Kevin De Bruyne to set that goal up. Second half, Wolves changed the system. They went with 2 up top, 1 behind and Moutinho. They made the 3 changes in forward positions, and they came into the game early on. They caused a couple of problems, but then a Neves mistake brings down De Bruyne for a penalty. Haaland's clinical, and then a mistake from Jose Sarr, and again clinical from Erling Haaland, and an easy day at the office for Manchester City.
Second defeat in 5 Premier League games for Wolves under Lopetegui. Is this one they just have to write off and go again?
Not necessarily write off. I think you've got to learn from this. I think you've got to understand why, how you get better. You've got to set standards for yourself, and Manchester City are the standard. They are the one that everyone wants to reach over the last 5 years or so since Pep's been in charge, and I think that's what Lopetegui will be saying to his players in the changing room.
Well, he wanted passion, he wanted fire, he wanted desire to win from the first minute from his Manchester City players and his fans. Pep Guardiola got 3 goals from Erling Haaland. He got all 3 points. He got a clean sheet as well. We're not a happy flowers team, he said, after the win over Tottenham. But I think he will be happy with this one because it finishes at the Etihad. Manchester City 3, Wolves 0.
Haaland's first hat-trick since October, Stephen. The drought is over.
It must be tough, mustn't it? I wish I had that stat for myself in my career. I used to score a couple of hat-tricks in training when I was about under 15. He's brilliant. Just the ruthlessness, the eagerness to get in, the desire to want to score goals. It's all there. He's on a whopping big contract. He's coming for huge money, but that's not enough. He wants records, he wants goals, he wants a legacy, and you can see he's going to get it because of the hunger that he has.
Yeah. The numbers are obviously ridiculous, and there's a few more to give you after today, which, if it was even possible, make it even more amazing. So that's 4 hat-tricks in his first season, 31 goals, 25 in the Premier League. 8 teams in the Premier League, including Chelsea, have less goals than he does combined. He's now gone past Harry Kane's Golden Boot winning total. Haaland has now scored more than double the number of goals that Wolves have scored in the Premier League this season. And I could go on. The thing is,
I was going to say, Steve, yeah. Arsenal kick off at 4:30.
I know. And he's on his way down the tunnel, Haaland, now. But listen, you can't make it hard for him, but you can make it a bit less easy than Wolves made it today.
To a certain degree, yes, but that movement, that half a yard, that power that he's got, the clinicalness that he's got, the anticipation of where the ball's gonna fall to him, that is so difficult to defend against. Because what you often can find yourself doing then is you get so attached to that player that you take your eye off what's going on around you, and then it frees up spaces for other things. And then when you do put your attention back on the ball, you've lost him. He's so good at not being felt. So when you're watching the ball, what's your next sense? Your next sense is touch, it's feel, and that's what you try and do. You try and feel him and understand where he is. Look at the first goal. The movement is just brilliant. He doesn't want Collins to know where he is. Moves off him, powers over the top of him. You're never going to win that header against him because of the run and jump. So whether he's been taught it, whether it's a natural gift, I think it's just natural that he's got that way and understands it. Yes, he can be made better, and there's probably no better manager to do that than Pep. I think he's just going to get better and better, and that's the scary thing for world football.
Actually, forget the stats. The thing that paints the picture best is that he takes all the jeopardy out of the game to the extent with 10 minutes to go, you can talk about your printer and it doesn't sound weird.
Yeah. I mean, it was a tough day for me, Steve. I think me and you have had a tough day because you set your joke up. Well, yeah, you set your joke up, didn't you? And John Murray absolutely ruined it.
Yeah,
I mean,
he texted me to apologise, actually, Stephen.
I knew what was coming. I was thinking, oh, he's teed this up nice. And then John just absolutely...
Reducer.
Yeah.
Absolute reducer.
Yeah.
Stephen, Vicky, thank you very much indeed.
Cheers, Steve.
Manchester City, absolutely dominant, beating Wolves by 3-0. So they're 2 points behind Arsenal now at the top of the table, having played 2 games more. The first of those is Arsenal-Manchester United.